Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Welcome one and all to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. Thank you for choosing to hang with us for the next hour and some change as we talk about what's happening in the world of video games, and a lot is happening in the world of video games. But before we get into that, let me introduce my fellow Dukes of Gaming. Joining me first and foremost, he is a Nintendo hater, but you would never be able to tell from his room decor. He plays all his games on hard mode while teaching his students at the same damn time. He is the Duke of Education, Alfredo.
Hello, I'm honored once again to go first. Everyone else can suck it.
Well, you might be first foremost, but we have second foremost. West Coast represent. He's Bungie certified and the tallest Duke by a wide margin. Game design is his passion, hence why he is the Duke of Design. Ben.
Hello, it is not E3, or is it not E3? Stay tuned to find out.
Sure.
I love the double negative. I love it. I love it. I also love third foremost. I'm getting my foremost is mixed up. He is our law expert, headband expert, business expert. But more importantly, he is the Duke of Rocket League, Cole.
Ben, that's the disappointing thing. Thank you for that intro, Thomas. That is awesome. That's the disappointing thing, is that it's not E3, but it's not E3. It's just this middle ground, which is the worst.
In limbo.
I got to talk about Starfield with you guys. I don't know what to think. I need to talk this through. I need a therapy session here.
We are in gaming purgatory, but we will get into that. Last and least, I make beats, I rap. I'm a little drunk, but we're going to get through it. I watch anime also because I am your Duke of Anime, Thomas. And with that being said, we're going to skip the age-old gamer question, and we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of what's going on with Summer Games Fest, because a lot is going on. And I'll kind of give the floor to Ben just to kind of guide the conversation of where we want to start.
Yeah, quite a lot was shown. So we have kind of behind the scenes talked about the things we want to talk about, the things we don't want to talk about. So we're not going to spend much time on the things we don't want to talk about. But it's up to you guys, really. Do we want to jump into the big headliner here first? Or do we want to warm up a little bit with some small potatoes?
I'm kind of trying to figure out what exactly was the main headliner of this particular
well, all right,
event.
Let's jump into it then.
Let's jump into it.
That headliner would be The Last of Us remake.
Wait, really?
Yes, this was the show ender for Game Fest.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about for Game Fest. I was thinking for the whole past few weeks.
The whole enchilada.
Specifically starting with Game. We'll get to the other shows. Xbox and Bethesda, all that good stuff will come later. As far as Game Fest is concerned, this was the big one. Ground up remake of The Last of Us with visuals that are definitely comparable, probably surpassing The Last of Us 2. And
coming out in a couple months, in 3 months, in September.
Yeah, that's the big surprise from this, I think, is that it's coming out so imminently. Neil Druckmann was on stage with Jeff Keighley, and he talked about how the gameplay has also been revamped here. Jeff Keighley said something to the effect of like, "Oh, so The Last of Us 2 gameplay and The Last of Us 1," and Neil kind of danced around that question. So I think what we should expect is that it's got new and updated gameplay, but not necessarily The Last of Us 2's mechanics inside of this game. As you can see here, it does look quite a bit different, quite a bit more souped up than the original Last of Us. But there has been some, of course, with The Last of Us, there's been some debate online about, was this necessary really? And how much better does it truly look? What do you guys think? How much better does this look?
Oh, I think this is just completely useless. I'm sorry. Look, I like Last of Us, but
guys, guns blazing.
But I thought The Last of Us remaster was good. I mean, it was sufficient. It would have been great 5 or 10 years from now. I don't know. I just feel like this was a waste. But
I agree with you for the most part. Like I don't have a desire. Did we get pricing on this?
Yeah,
$70 full price.
Yep.
Yeah,
gosh,
that to me is where this loses me. I think this should have been, if you're gonna, I know they're not gonna do day one PlayStation Plus, the highest tier is premium. Yeah. Like, I know not every game is gonna be day one. I think this should have been a day one. Like if it was that, I would have been looking at it differently. But $70 for a game that I probably played at this point 4 times,
right?
It just doesn't speak to me.
I'm definitely interested seeing, how different the gameplay, because even when I first saw it, I was like, Last of Us Remastered looked like this, if I'm remembering correctly. And then they showed the side-by-side comparisons, and of course it did not. It does look a lot better, a lot better.
I will say, just to piggyback off that, still images, it looks very similar. But when you look at gameplay, it's a lot different. I will ultimately admit that. It looks a lot more fluid. I think The Last of Us 1, it was one of the best looking games when it first came out. And then the remaster, when it came out, was one of the best looking PS4 games. But times have changed, and The Last of Us Part 2 looks incredible. And I think this does bring it closer to that. I'm still debating whether it's going to look better than The Last of Us 2, though. But that's just me.
It will. I guarantee it will, just because this is PS5 only.
Oh, that's fair. In the very least, it'll look just as good as it, and that will be like a huge stepping stone for where I guess The Last of Us Remastered was. But for me personally, I'm on the same boat where $70 for a game, exactly like you said, Thomas, for a game I played numerous times that I personally think doesn't need to be updated since it came out like less than 10 years ago. So for me personally, I'll be skipping it. Did that stop me from picking it up for my fantasy draft? Of course not, because I know everybody's gonna, buy this up.
It's gonna score well, yeah. It's gonna score well for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna score well. It's gonna play well. I'm looking forward to playing it when it price drops, like at least by half or so. Then I'll pick it up, or if it comes to the all new PS Plus eventually down the line. But yeah, it's so clearly a money grab just because they have the show coming out, and I'm sure they're trying to time it along with when they release that. But I mean, whoever's looking for that experience is great. And I think the bigger part of their announcement was that they're also developing it for PC, and it's finally coming to PC. So, that's great for anybody on the PC side, because they're getting more and more of these Sony exclusives that you can't really find anywhere else, honestly. Nothing comes close to Sony narrative and gameplay, so it's awesome that that's coming to PC. I hope that they're at least launching the multiplayer, which they did indeed mention the Last of Us 2 Part 2 factions mode multiplayer coming eventually. I'm kind of mad that they just said, oh, it's coming, which they announced a long time ago and didn't have any new details. But I'm hoping that maybe they launch the original multiplayer again, so that way maybe we can like refresh that user base. But unlike
I wouldn't.
That was
I
the
wouldn't hold
biggest.
your breath.
Yeah, that, and I didn't mention that before. That is my biggest disappointment with this.
Yep, agreed.
Because if you're not going to give us factions yet, the factions is not ready. Like, that's completely understandable. If you're really trying to make it a substantial thing, don't mention it. One, and also like factions for Last of Us Part 1 was really good, and you charged, and obviously game prices were different back then. But Last of Us originally released with factions included, with the story and everything. This is $70, and it's not going to have a big mode like factions. Because if it was in there, they would have said it. And it's like, that to me is pretty disappointing.
Yeah. I do have to give you kudos, Alfredo, though, because they did mention that this new multiplayer mode will have a story. It's definitely, it's its own game, so it's definitely way more in depth than I think any of us were actually expecting the multiplayer to be. But yeah, I kind of hold with you guys. I think this is great. It will probably sell. It's probably going to be the best looking thing on PS5 for a long time. I've played The Last of Us many, many times over the years. I played the original many, many times. I played the remake or the remaster many, many times. I definitely am not going to plunk down $70 for this. But when it eventually, in a year or two, comes to the PlayStation Plus service, I'll play it again. I love The Last of Us.
Definitely.
So yeah, I don't see this as like a big miss on their part or anything like that. I do kind of agree with Cole that it was this really necessary? Was this a good use of Naughty Dog's resources? I don't know.
What's interesting is it kind of shows the direction they're going. Like they're doubling down on Last of Us. You have the Last of Us TV show. If they're not going to make another Last of Us Part 3, why do all this? Like Last of Us Part 3 is coming for sure.
Well, Last of Us Part 2 ended.
Multiplayer.
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2, not to go to spoilers, but it ended in a way where it's like, we're getting a third game. It's going to happen at some point. Definitely. Uncharted, I mean, they did make the movie, to be fair. The movie did come out, I assume we're going to get an Uncharted thing at some point, but I do agree with you overall that Last of Us is that's their golden child right now. Yeah. And I'm sure I think they've already announced that they're doing another IP, right?
Yeah, on stage, Neil Druckmann did confirm that they're working on a new. They didn't say a new. I can't remember if they said a new IP, but they said they're working on a new project.
I think it's the space IP that everybody's been talking about for a long time.
I don't know. That piques my curiosity.
Am I making that? Maybe I dreamed that.
I definitely heard that as well.
I've heard that too.
You've heard that for Naughty Dog? Because that was definitely. I mean, that was a game that was happening in Santa Monica studio for a long time before it got awarded.
I heard it for Naughty Dog specifically.
Okay, Naughty Dog, a game set in space. Naughty Dog.
But we'll see. But before
I think we're all excited for this, right? But we're not excited in terms of dropping $70 for this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's nice to have. It's one of these things. It's nice to have, but it's like I would rather than put resources into something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm gonna have to wait another year for factions. That's the most pain-inducing thing of this whole thing.
Alfredo, we're in this together. We're waiting.
Yeah.
Quick detour to another critically acclaimed game, Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course DLC, finally has a date.
Yes.
Right, and it is very close. Does anyone remember what the date is?
It's June 30th. I want to say it's the end of this month.
Coming up.
Yeah, that and Shredder's Revenge got kind of shadow dropped on us because Shredder's Revenge is coming out next week or this upcoming week on Thursday, I believe. And then Cuphead is coming out at the end of the month, which is pretty exciting.
I think that Shredder's Revenge is a very interesting game. I think that could have a lot of what's his Streets of Rage 4 I think you have that energy and get a lot of hype like that. But
with Cuphead though, I was looking at it because I did originally when it came out. I finished Cuphead and I was looking at this new DLC and I was like, was it this chaotic? Was it actually this hard? Because I do not remember it being this crazy.
Hell yeah, it was this chaotic. I was watching the DLC. I was like, this looks cool, but this is the reason why I never really got into Cuphead.
Yeah,
it's just looking at it. It's like, so chaotic, and I can't tell like when I'm doing damage.
Yeah.
It looks fun. I'm definitely going to play it, especially if it's going to be free on Game Pass, which I assume it is. So
that'd be dope. Also, Cuphead Season 2, or Cuphead, I think either it's Season 2 or more episodes are coming to Netflix. They announced that alongside this. So that's going to be... Cuphead's killing it. All respect to them and the team.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. And I'm super excited for it to score well so I could get more points as well.
Killing it.
Yeah. It will. It most certainly will, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
I was kind of like, why didn't they just make a Cuphead 2? Because isn't this essentially that? Cuphead 1.5 or 2?
Yeah, I assume this is not going to be like as big as Cuphead 1. And so calling it Cuphead 2
island. So I was like, seemed pretty expansive. And it looks good, so it does look exactly like the original. So I guess we'll see in a couple weeks.
Cuphead looked amazing just
Fingers
by
crossed.
That was such an amazing looking game.
This game also has a distinctive art style. This game actually kind of confused me a little bit because the art style reminds me so much of this game that I talked about recently, Paradise Killer. That I took one look at it and I was immediately like, oh, okay, so it's by the developers of Paradise Killer, but it's not at all. But it's still interesting.
Same.
So what do you guys think of Neon White?
I have the exact same thought, Ben. I loved Paradise Killer, and then they turned it into a card game, which it looks like a card game, not along the lines of Slay the Spire or something, but more like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, Chain of Memories.
Yeah. Which
it's
I was
card
like,
game FPS, which I don't know if I've ever seen a card game FPS before.
Right.
That's a new genre for sure.
Yeah, so I'm definitely torn because I love Paradise Killer and I love the style of what they showed, but I don't like. I don't know if I would like the card game aspect of this FPS. So, and it comes out this week as well.
Yeah, dude. So we won't have to wait long to see how it lands. Cool.
The story definitely sounds really cool, though.
There were a couple horror games on the docket. First of all, I want to talk about a disappointment. Layers of Fears, which I gotta say, what were they thinking with that name? Layers of Fears. After 2 Layers of Fear games, Layers of Fear 1 and 2, you can't do the alien thing, Alien to Aliens, after you have 2 already. Right?
Right.
What were they thinking with that? Layers of Fears.
They're innovative.
Yeah. Something
Never
like that.
Done.
But the real disappointment there for me is that it was not Silent Hill, this rumored Silent Hill game that is supposedly in development by Bloober Team and Konami. Anyone interested in Layers of Fears?
No. I think that if I'm not mistaken, the second one didn't come out to a whole ton of fanfare. Definitely not as much as the first one. So yeah, I was thinking maybe they went for the Layers of Fears instead of, Layers of 3. Layers of Fear 3. Just to try to get more people in, I guess. I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah, definitely disappointed it's not Silent Hill.
Yeah. Staying on the horror train, this game, Routine, which was apparently announced, I think Jeff Keighley said 10 years ago.
Jesus.
Yeah. This one looks actually... this one piqued my interest a little bit. It's got major Alien Isolation vibes to it, which you can kind of see from this trailer. Who knows exactly how it's going to land, but it's a first person horror game in a space station or on a moon or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where it takes place, but it's got a good kind of aesthetic to it, and like I said, major Alien Isolation vibes. So that gets
just with robots. Looks pretty rad.
I thought the vibe of it. Like I really watched the trailer and thought, this is a cool world to exist in. This little, I think it's like a ship, right? Like it's just like the same kind of setup as Alien Isolation, but just a different thing chasing you. I think that's interesting. I wish that more games copied off of Alien Isolation.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to something of this ilk. Who knows if this game will be good or not, but I'm looking forward to stuff that's inspired by Isolation.
Yeah, it's got major retro futuristic vibes to it, which I dig as well. This is probably the biggest horror game that was announced, or not announced, but that we saw more of in this showcase, the Callisto Protocol. This gameplay here confirms, without a doubt, this is Dead Space.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is 100% Dead Space. From the way this character walks to like the way he stomps.
Yes. I'm so excited. And look, I'm not saying this just because I'm biased because it's on my game, it's on my list. I think this has game of the year potential. Now, that's a tall order this year. Because one, you have to beat Horizon before you even get to touch Elden Ring. So it has it has a long hill. It has a long hill battle.
Right.
But man, I've been so impressed by what I've seen. Because there was the original trailer on the State of Play. And then there was the director's cut from Summer Games Fest. And I'm like, I've watched those trailers like at least 5-6 times because I want to just exist in this Dead Space inspired world. And it made me less impressed by what we saw from the Dead Space remake as well.
Yeah, that's primarily what I was thinking. I was like, okay, this comes out in December, and then Dead Space remake has to come out, I believe, in either January or February is where they're targeted.
It's close. So, it's really close.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that game's in trouble. Because if it can't do what this game is showing, what it can do, then it's definitely not gonna sell well. But yeah, this game looks amazing. I thought the director's cut showing all the gore and horror stuff was pretty
nasty.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's pretty nasty.
It.
Like I said, it reminded me a lot of my favorite moments from Last of Us Part 2, where you're really dealing with some of the nastiest, like I don't even know what those were called. Like
yeah, I know what you're talking about. The part where The Last of Us 2 gets Resident Evil.
Where you're playing as Abby and you're seeing the scariest things you've seen in the world. Like this game seems like a whole right. And this game seems like a whole game of that in a Dead Space like world. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, I also thought it was cool. They're showing right now how much the environment matters. Like how usually there's fans and stuff, just regular things around a game. But this actually shows you, not only can you interact with the zombies to, interact with the fan and stuff, but you can also, you have to be aware of environmental hazards, which I thought was pretty cool.
And another thing is that remember when we had the conversation about dismemberment? It's back. It's in this game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The death animations too.
Yeah.
I cannot wait because that was the one part about. I know I'm comparing it to Last of Us 2 a lot, but my favorite part of Last of Us 2 is the ways you die in that game. Like it's so many different ways, and I feel like this game's gonna have so many different variations on dying. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it seems so intense too.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should get part 1, Thomas, and compare the death scenes.
If everybody wants to put a pool together, maybe.
Yeah. So Callisto Protocol, is this a day one for all of us? Because I definitely
absolutely.
Yeah.
It'd be a day 0 if I could.
What's the date on this, guys?
December 2nd.
December 2nd, day before my birthday.
I hope it makes December 2nd. That's a good time to play a game.
Absolutely. I wish it came out on Halloween. I really do.
Exactly. I was hoping. But I will say, after all of these showcases, October is looking a little too stacked.
A little crowded.
A little bit crowded. So I'm kind of glad this is a December.
Sweet. Last, I think this is the last on the horror train. There were quite a few actually at Game Fest. New Alien game, Aliens: Dark Descent. Alfredo, you said you wanted to talk about this one. Nothing really struck me about this game in particular. I mean, it's got a good trailer, but I mean, Alien games are, pretty hit or miss, and Alien Isolation is the only one that's really spoken to me. So what speaks to you about this one?
Yeah, well, this one was interesting because it did a classic mobile games kind of cinematic trailer thing where it shows you, this cool ass cinematic.
Yeah.
Where I was all like, oh, okay, this game looks a lot like GTFO, if you guys ever heard of that game, which is very, very popular on PC. And it's, you're basically facing a horde of aliens or zombies or whatever, and you're trying to navigate a space station. So I thought that they were doing that with the Aliens IP. And then at the very end, they cut to a little bit of gameplay where it shows that, oh, this game is actually like a top-down bullet hell shooter, possibly.
Right.
So very, very different.
Totally different.
Yeah. So for me personally, I thought it was cool because I personally like bullet hells a lot more and twin stick shooters. So I was looking forward to that, but I'm sure it threw a lot of people for a loop, and they're probably not so happy about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm going to skip actually ahead to that gameplay. I think it's at the end of this trailer. Oh, no, or maybe they don't show it in the trailer.
Yeah, they might have purposefully cut it out.
That's strange, yeah. I mean, the gameplay didn't seem, bad to me. It just this trailer doesn't really indicate it very well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I totally lied. This is not in any way the last horror game, or at least I assume, because I think that Fort Solis is probably also a horror game as well. This is the game that is notable because they trotted out Troy Baker and Roger Clark of Red Dead 2 to talk about it. They're both in this game. What do we think about this one?
I thought it looked interesting. I'm intrigued. I don't think I saw enough of it, but I'm intrigued so far.
This game gave me major 12 minutes vibes where they come out with these big voice actors. They show this cool cinematic, everyone's hooked, and then it'll come out and it's just fine. People don't like it that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what this trailer kind of spoke to me as. It seems like it's going that route for the story as well, because I believe they mentioned it's like a thriller kind of. So yeah, very 12 minutes vibes for me.
Yeah, there's a big mystery at the center of this one as well. Yeah, that's a good call out, Alfredo. I want to introduce a theme here that I will be coming back to the more we talk about these games. Every time I see, maybe I'm just jaded. Maybe I've been looking at games like this and announcements and trailers for too long. But many times I see these types of showcases where I'm just looking at the same game over and over and over again. How many Alien clones did we just look at?
Seriously,
we literally saw Alien.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. Alien among them, right? Some of them better than others. Callisto Protocol looks interesting. Mm-hmm. Some of them not so great. So this is a theme where I'm just seeing the same types of games over and over again. It's just like all over. Most of the ones that just feel like things I could have seen at any given E3, we're not even talking about because they're not notable enough. But are we just making the same 5 to 10 games over and over again as an industry? I'm a little concerned every time I see these showcases.
I feel like this leads to a broader conversation about how Summer Games Fest, at least this overall showcase overall. So are there any other games we need to discuss from the showcase?
Oh yeah. And I mean
because I agree with you completely.
This point will come back.
Yeah,
we will definitely come back to this point.
You're absolutely spot on with that analysis for sure.
Agreed.
So I think at this point we're moving away from horror. Maybe not. Let's check out Witchfire. This one is another one that was announced eons ago that they just brought back to life. This one's interesting. It's kind of got that BioShock-ish powers in one hand, guns in the other kind of deal going on, but it's a much more fantasy-esque setting.
Mm-hmm. And it looks real good.
Yeah, decent looking gameplay.
Yeah.
Does this appeal to
I couldn't help but notice how BioShock it was.
Yeah, that was my thing. It's like it looks cool, but I just it's one of those games I have to play because it could be good. It looks good, but I've seen a lot of games that look good in these showcases, and they end up just being clones of classic games.
Yeah, I feel like in order for a game like this to stand out, because obviously I do think that the gameplay is there, just looking at it, it looks awesome. But I feel like these types of games also need the story or some sort of narrative for it to like really execute and for people to like not just face waves and waves and using the same old powers.
Yeah.
So I think if this game does have a good narrative, then it could go far. But it does give me a little bit of the vibes where like classic back in the 1990s where you just make a shooter and that's all. It's just a shooter.
Yeah.
They didn't give us any real hint of a story here or anything like that.
And I mean, we look at BioShock. BioShock's combat's fine. It's fine. That's not why we love BioShock. Yeah. Like BioShock lives and dies by how great the world building is, how great the lore is, and how great that story is told. So if this game doesn't have that and it's just copying BioShock's like combat formula, it's not going to appeal to me at least.
Mm-hmm. I will play it if it goes on sale though, because it looks awesome. Just the combat, I mean.
It looked good. The combat did, at least.
So Alfredo, you said you got a chance to jump into the Saints Row character creator demo.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they showed during the Summer's Game Fest, they showed a trailer of Saints Row, which we already seen extensively. I feel we had many trailers about it. We got a release date for August a while ago. So they tried to hype it up by releasing a demo for it, but the demo is only the character creator. So I hopped into it. Anybody can do it because it's free. I hopped into it and I created my, what's it called, boss, your main character of the story. And I'm the type of person who, if a game has character creation, I will literally spend 2 to 3 hours in the character creation menu, picking out my clothes, perfecting my look, like everything about it to be perfect. So that's what I was doing for this. I spent 2 hours in this thing, just like trying different combinations. You can make multiple different basically character customizations and save it and then import it into the game when you're ready. So yeah, just looking at the character creation options available, it's probably one of the better, definitely one of the better character creations I've ever used before. They have a lot of different options. Anything that you can think of, you can pretty much customize it from your pec size to your groin size. Literally. They literally have sliders for these. So yeah,
that's great.
I'm happy. Are great. I'm looking forward to actually, now that I have a character, I'm looking forward to actually playing the game. Will I pay $70 for it? I still don't know, but my character looks awesome, so I'm leaning toward a yes. And I love Saints Row, so I might have to buy it when it comes out.
I think it's a great marketing thing for them because I think this game is fighting an uphill battle. It's coming out in one of the best, even though we've seen a lot of delays, it's still one of the better years in gaming. And this game is fighting an uphill battle, but I do think highlighting one of its best features, which is going to be the character creation, since it's so wide and so vast, I think that's great to kind of get that out there, show people like how much you can customize, put your best foot forward. So shouts out to them. Hopefully the game comes out and, does well.
Yeah, this is an interesting approach to a demo. This is a very interesting approach to a demo, and I'm curious to see how it pans out for them because I feel like just like not giving you a full bite of the gameplay, but letting you get invested into a character.
Yes.
Well in advance of when the game comes out, so that you feel like, oh man, I spent all this time with the character creator, and I have this character all ready to go on day. Right. Also, on day one, I can just jump right in, without having to invest all this time. For all the people who are already going to buy it anyway, that's a great additive. So yeah, this is a very interesting approach to the demo. I'm very curious.
But it is exactly what you said, because after my 2 hours of making this character, I was like, I really want to like see him in action, and have him be in the actual game. So I'm kind of mad they didn't give you like just a little slice, just so you can roam around like a little area or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. I guess I'll just have to wait.
Excellent. Let's take a look at some smaller games that stuck out to us a little bit. This one's called American Arcadia, and this one gives me like pretty major Inside vibes, but
Really,
with like a lot more I don't know, sarcastic attitude and dialogue.
you know what it was? It was giving me Operation Tango vibes, actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
That's
Was that
the
multiplayer
PS. It's the PS Plus game that came out where it's the 2-player co-op game where
Right.
one of you was a spy, like
Right.
in the field, and one of you was like behind the computer hacking. And they kind of alluded to that at the end of this trailer, I bet. I think with the female who was talking to the guy who was trying to escape this crazy town. But yeah, it's a day one for me. It looks wacky. It looks right up my alley.
Yeah, this gives
Whatever
me,
the actual gameplay is.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the gameplay here. It's got that sort of like 2D-ish side scroller escape from the guys trying to hunt you down thing that Inside has, but we'll see if it's got a little bit more in the gameplay department. It's definitely got more I guess flavor than you would expect from a game like that.
Mm-hmm. No release
cool.
date, unfortunately.
Yeah, no release date yet. Coming soon to PC and console, but what does soon mean these days? We may never know. High Water is the other one that I wanted to show. What did you think of this one, Alfredo?
Another one that looked right up my alley. I love indie games, so this one definitely seemed. This one reminded me a lot of what is called Oxenfree, where you have this interesting scenario that you're in. I guess Oxenfree isn't an interesting scenario, but this one's an interesting scenario where I think the world is ravaged by climate change or something, and you're just chilling in a speedboat. You're just going around town, making friends, seeing what everyone's doing in this semi-post-apocalyptic world. And yeah, just living in this world. So it seemed like a very Oxenfree, not in the woods type of experience where you're just chilling and getting to know these crazy and fun characters. Seems like a fun time.
Yeah, that kind of like mundanity with the somberness of everything feeling like it's ended is, I mean, I just finished Kentucky Route Zero, so I'm getting a little bit of that here. Not that much, because Kentucky Route Zero is really its own beast, but yeah, this is intriguing. Coming 2022. This is another theme of these showcases, that there's a lot of coming 2022 with no date.
Yep.
And I'm like, guys, there's not much time left in 2022.
Right.
If you don't have a date yet,
we still got half a year. That's enough.
Yeah,
time,
but
right?
if you don't have a date yet, then
You got to be
really
able to
coming out in
market the date.
2022?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, just do what Guardians of the Galaxy did. Just announce it and then comes out like 2 months later. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, we know how that went for Square Enix.
Oh my god,
that's fair.
And that was a Marvel property too. Like it almost promotes itself, and it still didn't. It still kind of underachieved sales wise. So I agree. I feel like we need some dates, publishers.
Yeah. All right, weebs. It's
ready.
time to stand up. Stand
ready.
up and stand by for Honkai Star Rail first.
Yes.
All right, explain this to me. What is the appeal?
Yeah, what is this?
What do you mean? It's anime in space. Don't you understand?
So this is by the developers of Genshin Impact?
Yeah.
Do we expect it to be similar gameplay style?
I believe they showed a little bit, and it's pretty much the same.
Okay. So
Or
it's like,
is there
it's
open
an
world?
action RPG. I believe. See, that we don't know. I think it's very story focused, but the thing that kind of sucks about these games is that they come out as free to play, and then they're not done, and you'll just have to wait. And they're major gacha games. So like the way you get your characters is that, you know, you get them in loot boxes, and more often than not, you'll have to pay for them. So that's probably what their next 2 games, these ones, are going to be. And that's why I ended up dropping off of Genshin Impact, because I got to where like they had ready for the story to end. And there were just so much that you had to wait for. So I just dropped off of it because of that. So,
yeah,
but it looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. I do think, because I'm just reading this, I like the vibe of what we saw, but I'm just looking at the just the article. And it's saying that it's going to have more role playing. It's going to be a turn-based combat system instead. It doesn't mention open world. So I'm wondering if it's more, and not saying it's going to be quality of the same, but I wonder if it's going to be more Mass Effect-ish in terms of maybe you're picking a planet to go to. You know, because I feel like if it was open world, they probably would have said that.
I think that would help differentiate it from their other game that they announced, which is Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah.
And apparently Honkai is a franchise in of itself.
Oh, is it? I didn't know.
Okay, so it's a license.
I know they have a lot of mobile stuff as well. It's like mobile exclusive.
Yeah, it says in the article, while staying true to the spiritual core of the Honkai franchise.
Okay.
You know, so I think it's a franchise of some kind. I'm the Duke of Anime. I've never heard of this franchise, but it looked interesting. But I will say it did also kind of look like generic anime as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold off until I see more.
I'm going to play it.
Yeah, we know Alfredo will play. You'll report back.
I'll play anything.
Well, let's talk about something that does not look like generic anime. Call of Duty.
The farthest away from anime.
Yeah, right. So there's new Call of Duty. Anything to say about that?
So I played most of the Call of Duty campaigns. Played fair share of multiplayer, but I'm no means a pro at multiplayer Call of Duty. But I've always loved a lot of their story modes, and I've loved the entire Modern Warfare series. I think this is going to be more of the same, which I feel is a good thing. I think it's going to look incredible, because Modern Warfare original on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One still to this day, even on a PS4, looks impressive. So I can only imagine what this is going to look like on next gen hardware. It's obviously not built from the ground up on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but their engine just looks so good. I think this is going to look spectacular. I think it's going to be more of the same in terms of the story, but if you like military shooting, movies and anything like that, like if you like those type of things, this is going to appeal to you. So I think it's going to probably be the highest selling Call of Duty. I think it's very possible this is probably the highest selling game of the year.
You think it's going to be the highest selling Call of Duty just because Call of Duty has been soft recently, and then also because we think there's not going to be another one next year?
Well, yeah, I think that's a big thing. The fact there's not going to be one next year, so this is going to get 2 years of sales essentially. It's going to be highest selling for that reason. I think Modern Warfare is a brand in and of itself.
Right.
It's beyond just a Call of Duty brand. Like, people literally won't play some Call of Duties and just wait for, certain, whether it's Black Ops, whether it's Modern Warfare, they'll wait for their favorite sub franchise of Call of Duty. Right. And so it's just, to me, like, it's coming together to probably be the most successful Call of Duty. Will it be the best Call of Duty is a whole nother question that I'm not equipped to answer, but I think it's going to be the highest selling.
Game looks good.
It does.
Yeah. Cool. Let's end our Game Fest coverage. We got a couple other showcases we want to talk about, of course, but let's end our Game Fest coverage with the superheroes. First off, more look at Gotham Knights. Does this change anything for you guys? Some Nightwing gameplay. By the way, Nightwing is like one of my favorite characters in Batman, so I'm definitely going to be maining Nightwing in this game for sure.
You be using that glider?
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. How about that?
Hey, my question is, okay, didn't we see they just released Nightwing and Red Hood gameplay? So why didn't we see Robin,
some Batgirl, or
exactly, or even Batgirl? Like,
have we seen Batgirl?
We have,
right? I thought she was the first person we saw.
Yeah, we haven't seen Robin. He's the only one we have not seen.
Did we not? I thought Robin was in like the co-op portion with the Batgirl.
He was, but you were always playing as Batgirl, so you didn't really get to see him unless like they tilted the camera over to him. But they did mention that like they're going to be doing a series for each character, starting with this one, which is Nightwing. And I think the cool thing that they showed in this was also how many different costumes that you could pick for your character, because they had Nightwing over here with like a ponytail, these crazy awesome outfits. Is pretty cool.
The more I see this game, the more it reminds me of, and I love the series, it reminds me of like The Division more than Arkham Knight, Arkham City. Like it seems more closer to that. And I just don't want that from this. I don't know. It's hard to disassociate this from the Arkham games.
I don't like that you said in that, terms of now I see it.
Like when I'm seeing like all the character customizations, and I remember the first trailer we saw, there was like points off like damage, and I was just like I do not want that out of my like Batman game, because I've seen what Batman can be in video game form with the Arkham series. So to kind of go in a different direction, I hope it's successful. I'm not wishing any bad upon the game. I'm gonna play it, but this is not the direction I want Batman to go in.
Yeah, it's a high bar to clear. I think for me, there's this kind of like weird, just the sense that I get from the trailers. This is something that will bear out in gameplay if it is in fact the case. But there's this kind of weightiness to the animation, and then the transitions between animations. Like Nightwing just like floats across the map to strike and that kind of stuff. But then when the combat actually plays out, it seems pretty animation driven. Like in Arkham, in the Arkham games, Batman was jumping all over the place, but you could also like cancel out of attacks, and like so it didn't feel, you never felt like he was so weighty that he shouldn't be able to do the acrobatic moves that he was doing.
Whereas it looked silly. It did look silly at times. Like
sure, yeah.
There's sometimes where he's like jumping from one side of the room to the other. It did kind of look silly, but
the animation to me, the animation
to it. Yeah,
the animation to me in the Arkham games never conflicted with that weightlessness that prioritized gameplay, right? Because that's what it's for. Here, it's like the worst of both worlds almost, where he's jumping. Nightwing's jumping all across the map just like Batman did in the Arkham games, but then he's also kind of got these slow, very, very mocapped animations that play out in more or less real time that kind of betray the fact that he can dart across the map when he's beating up on these guys. So like for me, it sits in this weird space where I'm like, is this sluggish? Is this responsive? I can't tell. And it's given me bad vibes for that reason.
Yeah, I say Division because I want to be kind to the game. If I'm being really mean, I would say it looks more like Avengers than anything.
I don't think it looks that bad.
I think not in terms of the combat, but in terms of like the systems.
Okay, I got you.
Like it looks more Avengers than anything else, but I feel like the best case scenario is it's more Division. I feel like that's the best case scenario.
I think it will be a little bit more Division because I play a lot more Avengers than I care to admit. So I'm pretty familiar with their systems, and I don't think it will be from what I've seen, it won't be anywhere as egregious as it was in Avengers. Fingers crossed though. But yeah, this will definitely be a day one for me.
Hope it's good. No, there shouldn't. I don't want a bad Batman game out there. I want this to be good. I think this game lives or dies by its story. I think if the story is very good, I feel like even someone like me who's not a fan of like the combat, like Ben was saying, and then just the systems, if the story and they really capture the Court of Owls how they need to be portrayed, I'm all in. So I'm hoping that is not an afterthought.
So we got some other superheroes. We got some other superheroes here. We got another look at Marvel's Midnight Suns. This is the strategy game by the developers of XCOM. And looking at this gameplay, this is not exactly what I expected from this game. We got a little trailer.
Your outfit in this game?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that.
We got a trailer at Games Fest that was a CG trailer, so you couldn't tell much about it, but seems pretty in depth with the story and the characters and all that good stuff in a way that Firaxis games typically aren't. And yet we still have, we've got dialogue choices here, which is interesting. And then we've still got that kind of more traditional XCOM-ish gameplay as well. So what are you guys thinking about Midnight Suns?
It looks like a cross between a dating sim and a card battler, I guess. Which I actually like.
I just like how Amran's sitting and look how he's sitting right there.
Yeah, just casual on the couch.
It reminds me of those like y'all remember when the Marvel games were a little more like spread out and they were making like X-Men games or making Marvel Alliance?
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It brings me back to those times. And I played a lot of those games.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, it reminds me of X-Men Legends a little bit.
Yeah, Apocalypse. Yes, like X-Men Legends Apocalypse was one of my favorite X-Men games. We haven't had many X-Men games, but that's one of my favorites. And this reminds me a lot of that. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I do like the direction that they're going, and I think it will this combination of genres will be a surprise success.
That'd be awesome.
Well, that's that for Game Fest, at least in terms of all the stuff that we wanted to talk about. But that's not it for the conferences. Next, we had the Guerilla Collective Indie Showcase. There weren't too many things we wanted to mention on this front. One of them was I don't have it pulled up immediately. Apologies for that. Signalis, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First
that is the Resident Evil clone, kind of.
Yeah, the Resident or Silent Hill or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This one's definitely got like PS1 aesthetic, for sure.
Yeah, it's a blend between Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, all of those kind of genres in like a top-down PS1, but modernized. I hope. And yeah. I believe the previews had come out for this game a while ago, and they were saying that it was good, but this was the first time that we actually got a release for it, and I believe it's coming out in October, which makes sense because it's definitely a more creepy game, horror-esque.
It looks awesome. I think it looked really good. Like I'm actually like, I don't know if I'll play it on release. I'll probably wait for reviews, of course, but I love what I saw from this.
Yeah, I'm personally a fan of the PS1 low fidelity aesthetic when it comes to horror stuff. I feel like things that are crudely rendered are often a lot creepier than things that are like really beautifully rendered. Just for instance, the original Resident Evil versus modern Resident Evil. Modern Resident Evil, I think, has great visuals and they still do tone well, but when you look at any one of those monsters, nothing could be as scary as that like opening cutscene of Resident Evil where the zombie turns around. It's like, oh my god, what kind of digital abomination is this fucking thing?
Just all blur, all blur.
Exactly. So yeah, I dig that Signalis.
Definitely reminds me of that game. You guys ever played it on PS1, Clock Tower?
No.
What's that?
What? You guys don't know Clock Tower? It was the guy with the giant scissors chasing you around the mansion. You don't remember this game?
No, I don't.
Look
I don't
it
remember
up.
that at
it's
all.
Great game. It had multiple sequels. Great game.
Clock Tower. Put that on the
Play
list.
it on an emulator if you haven't.
Gotcha.
I played it pretty recently, actually, again, because I remember it being great. But I digress.
Nice.
Excellent. The other game that was interesting enough to mention about from the Guerilla Showcase, and there were plenty of interesting games. It was just like in a sea of thousands of games. These are the ones that stood out. This one's called Industria, and it seems like a pretty short first person game, but it's got major like Half-Life 2 vibes. And also I'm a sucker for anything like Soviet era or like a destroyed Soviet era. So I'm super into Atomic Heart. I can't wait for that game to come out. And this one is kind of in a similar place for me, but it seems like a tight, apparently 4-hour campaign. It looks cool. The visuals are just, interesting. It's obviously indie. It's obviously lower budget, but I'm into it. And it just dropped. So it's on consoles now as well. It was on PC prior. So yeah, I think I might pick it up.
Yeah, if you told me this was low budget and then showed me this trailer, I wouldn't believe you because it looks very high production value. And yes, I'm not mad that it's, a 4-hour experience. I think we should actually have more of those.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try it. I am a fan of a game that doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
And does with its 4 hours in this case, like a lot. And it looks like this game's going to check all those boxes for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fingers crossed.
It's coming this year, right? Is that what it's?
I think it's out now, right?
Yeah, it's been out on PC for a while and it's out on consoles now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think I'm going to download it on PC.
Definitely. Nice. So onto the PC gaming showcase. This one is one of these frustrating ones for me where it's like, okay, this is supposedly a 2022 release date, but where is the date? I've talked about this one ad nauseum. I backed this game back in 2016 when the original Kickstarter started, and I have been waiting for this game ever since its System Shock remake. The game looks great. I've been saying that the game looks great for years. Just give it to me, please. Stop teasing me. The best part about this trailer, I think, is how heavily it features Shodan, which is the malevolent AI that kind of taunts you all throughout this game. She did kind of sound a little different to me, though. I'm not sure if they got a different voice actress. I hope they didn't, or if it's just because it's been, what? Yeah, exactly. It's been almost 30 years since she originally voiced Shodan, so it's, her voice might have changed a little bit. But like, this is System Shock through and through. I do question a little bit in scenes like this that are very, very loud visually. I question a little bit their faithfulness in remaking the visuals like very one-to-one with the original game, but you're in between a rock and a hard place. How much do you interpret and how much do you try to make faithful, especially for a game as low fidelity as 1994 first-person shooter? So yeah, this game looks super dope. I can't wait for it to come out. Please just give it to me. Just give it to me. Stop teasing me. Any of you guys interested in System Shock?
I played System Shock a long time ago, and I didn't take to it just because it, when it came out for me, it was way past its release date.
Right.
So I am
like BioShock though. I've never played it.
There's definitely influences there. I think BioShock is a spiritual successor, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So System Shock was one of the earliest immersive sims. So it was made by Looking Glass Studios, who went on to make Thief and System Shock 2. Mm-hmm. System Shock 2 was directed by Ken Levine, who went on to direct BioShock and BioShock Infinite.
Right.
So yeah, this game was, obviously influenced System Shock 2 as System Shock 2 was a sequel, and then System Shock 2 heavily influenced BioShock. So there is that lineage, that Shock lineage,
right?
That started with this game.
Yeah, and I'm in just from that standpoint. Like when I remember playing System Shock, the first one was when it was right around the time I played BioShock, and I remember I played on my friend's PC, and I was just like, it's one of those things where like I want to appreciate this. But
did you play the original System Shock or did you play the second one?
I really can't remember. I didn't spend a lot of time. Like it wasn't enough time. I just remember like because my friend loves System Shock. He just loves it. He's like you gotta play it. You love BioShock, right? Like you gotta play this original. I'm like, all right, cool. And I played it for a couple hours, and I don't remember it. And I just remember being frustrated. It felt archaic, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, I want to enjoy this, so I'm really happy that there's a remake so I can experience it in a more modern context. And I think there's a lot here that a lot of gamers haven't experienced who are like me, who love BioShock, who love these immersive sims. And this is like the granddad of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
totally.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, System Shock 2 is a good bit more approachable than the original System Shock is, but even still, I mean, both of these games deserve remakes. They show their age.
And if this one does well, the second one's most definitely going to get a remake.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I mean, this game has taken a long time to produce, so who knows? But yeah, I hope it sells well. Other game from the PC Gaming Showcase, Solstice. Alfredo, take it away.
Yes, this game, and you'll see it in a second. But this game, I wanted to talk about it real quick because there's some Final Fantasy vibes in here, big time. If Thomas, have you seen this trailer?
I glanced at it in the car and I was like, I love the vibes.
Yeah,
I'm loving the vibes.
Yeah, so there's some anime vibes, specifically Final Fantasy vibes, as the main character literally has a Buster Sword, wrapped, literally that is wrapped with the same gauze like around its base as Cloud Strife. So just straight up ripped off from Final Fantasy VII. But the game does look cool. I believe they actually showed gameplay a while ago, not in this particular instance, but ever since I've seen it, I had it wishlist on Steam. There's the Buster Sword right there. Look at it.
It looks like the other sword that you unlock in Final Fantasy VII, at least remake.
I love how not sharp this sword looks.
Like just a blunt weapon.
Yeah, the blade is like so thick.
Yeah.
It could never cut through anything.
Yeah, but I mean, the gameplay itself, it looks like a fun time. It reminds me of, like I said earlier, like the early 2000s where you get games like Blood Rain and stuff like that. Like, it's not a AAA experience, but like it's a fun PC experience. So I'm looking forward to it.
It looks like a 7 out of 10, but a fun 7 out of 10.
Right. Yeah, a good time.
Most definitely. So yeah, that's that for the PC Gaming Showcase. Not much to talk about on our front. So Devolver Digital.
Amazing.
Let's talk about Devolver Digital a little bit.
Amazing.
They brought out their typical big guns, their production to take down all the marketing of the moment. I gotta say, this one felt like a little bit more hollow because it wasn't E3. It was like, it almost felt like they were doing it out of obligation at this point.
Here's the thing. I agree partially, but after just watching Summer Games Fest with The Rock coming out, all this other bullshit, getting this was like a breath of so much fresh air. Like it felt like a palate cleanser. I was engaged the whole time. The games, obviously, I liked a lot of the games there, but just like what they're doing presentation wise, I wish other companies would have the balls to do what they're doing.
Yeah, and they do it like they do the same thing every year where they do like a long SNL skit basically, and then they don't even show that many games, to be honest. I think they showed a total of 4 or 5 games, but the skits I just thought were so funny and ridiculous.
I think the writing is good because the skit does like have time to like show games. Like it's like in the story of the script, it makes sense to show a game here.
Yeah.
And like from that perspective, I'm like, that's doing something different than a lot of these other companies are doing.
I can also say I really appreciated. I did appreciate the timeliness of like the video game singularity, where like all companies will be purchased by themselves and then devolve into this video game black hole because there's just so many fucking acquisitions happening right now.
I think the funniest thing they said was Microsoft bought Bethesda again,
just because they could.
that honestly made me laugh out loud. I'm like, man, they're doing God's work here, man. I appreciate it.
Good stuff.
But all that to say, the actual games that they showed were fire.
4 games, right?
Right. Yeah.
4 out of 4. Every single one of these games I'm interested in, especially
for instance,
Angerfoot. Man, this game looks. It reminds me. I don't know if the gameplay is gonna be the same. It reminds me of like Hotline Miami, but just a third-person shooter. Just has that energy.
Right.
I am so looking forward to this game. I don't know if it's gonna look exactly like how it looks in this gameplay trailer, because it looked very like kinetic. I don't know. You're gonna get a HUD. You're gonna get a HUD of some kind, I assume, but it just looked very good. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, the trailer that they put together, it was great. But everything that Devolver Digital always puts through is amazing, just like their showcase and their
not Chartiomi.
Oh, was that them? No, because Chartiomi looked amazing.
Oh, okay. You're saying look. Okay. I thought you meant like, okay, you're saying looked from like a showcase perspective.
Right. They know how to present.
Got you. Yes, agreed. And so yeah, but I'm really excited for Angerfoot, but there's another game also that I'm even more excited for, and me and Alfredo are super in on this. And
this one's called The Plucky Squire.
Yeah. When I first saw this gameplay, it looked to be okay. You were playing in a book, like a top-down, I guess a 2D platformer is what it looked like, or maybe like along the lines of The Legend of Zelda, kind of top-down view, as you can see through the gameplay. And I just thought it was so cool, so innovative, because I've never seen gameplay like you were playing in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, it was just very innovative. And then they did something at the end of it, which they're showing right now, where you hop out of the book into real life, which I was like, okay, yeah, day one purchase. But yeah, it looks like a very, very, very cool game, and I'm very excited for it.
Like that little gameplay right there where he's in the cup.
Right.
That took me right back to Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like, yeah, and Super Mario Odyssey, that game to me is like almost perfect. I love that game. But at the same time, like those sections of the game weren't really like, there wasn't any story attached to it. It's just like, oh, Mario's in the wall and he's 2D again. Cool. This game seems like there is more depth to that. It's like they're expanding on that idea. Like I'm so head over heels with, like, if we had to vote for a game of the show, like this is my game of the show. Like, this is my most anticipated game of 2023.
Looks so fun.
Maybe mine too.
Not even Starfield?
I don't know about Starfield.
We'll get to Starfield.
Speaking of Starfield, we won't get there yet, but we'll move on to the I don't know, would you call this the big one? The big showcase, the Xbox Bethesda showcase? They showed quite a lot. It was very long. It was an hour and a half long of lots of stuff. They started with Redfall. We should start there too. The new game, multiplayer 4-person co-op from Arcane Austin, one of my favorite studios. Obviously, Arcane is one of the only studios keeping the immersive sim flame alive. So this game being multiplayer, as I've expressed to you guys, is like a little bit worrisome to me. I'm concerned that it's not going to have that core Arcane DNA, that Dishonored DNA, that Prey DNA that I love so much about these games. Seeing this gameplay, it's definitely more kinetic and action focused, much like Deathloop. Deathloop still had a good amount of that Arcane DNA in there, but we talked about it during our Game of the Year discussion. It fell short for me after a game like Prey Moon Crash, and I wonder where this one is going to land. However, it does seem like a good bit of fun with friends. What are you guys thinking about Redfall here?
I've been anticipating this game since I played Deathloop. Deathloop was my first real Arcane game. That's why, it was one of my game of the years last year, but I am so interested to play their other games, especially Prey, just to see like how it compares. This game reminded me a lot of Deathloop. Just in terms of the visual style of it, I am worried a little bit about that multiplayer component. Because I've seen developers who, like, for example, the biggest one is obviously who developed Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics, developed those Tomb Raider games, and they were met with pretty good reception. They develop Avengers, and they're out of their wheelhouse. So I don't think any studio can just take a multiplayer game and just make it. I don't think you can just do that. But that being said, I got to be proven that they can't do it. So I like the vibes of this. I like the setting of it. I like zombies for the most part. So,
and to be fair, also just to your point, this is not Arcane's first crack at multiplayer. There was a multiplayer mode in Prey that was a free mode that was kind of a test bed, I think, for ideas like this. Then Deathloop had multiplayer. It had that. It had that multiplayer invasion kind of mode. Not only that, but Arcane did significant work on the not so well received Wolfenstein Youngblood. Even though Machine Games gets top billing on that, I think that Arcane actually did a lot of development work for it.
Okay.
So they've played around in this multiplayer space before. They've never done a 4-player co-op game. This is their first, but it's certainly not their first multiplayer outing either.
Right, and that's a great distinction to make. And yeah, they have it. Like, I played a lot of Deathloop's multiplayer. The difference between that and this seems like they've marketed it. This is a co-op game. Like, that's the core thing, and that's where my worry is it going to be more of that? And if it is it going to be good? If it's going to be good, then I'm all for it. I just have to see it.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. This was on my list, so I'm looking forward to this in 2023.
Notably, this is also their first open world game, and the environment looks cool. I dig the setting actually probably most of all in this game. What about you, Alfredo?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I like about the game is the setting.
Yeah, it's a cool, like, this island off of in Manhattan, or in Massachusetts. It's got this really good vibe to it. What do you think, Alfredo?
Yeah, definitely the environment looks cool. After seeing this, after seeing the gameplay, I have kind of moved off of, I'm like a day one purchase too. I'm probably going to wait in this one. Although
you don't have to purchase it.
Right. I'm still probably going to, it didn't speak to me, what they were showing. What I was looking for wasn't this. It looks kind of like a blend of Left 4 Dead and because it's not so much Left 4 Dead, and it's not, I don't know how to describe it. I don't think it's for me after seeing this type of gameplay. But if it has a cool story, which I doubt it will, because it seems like they're trying to focus on multiplayer component, that would be the only thing to really pull me into this. But it just looked like a game that wasn't for me, but I hope it's good.
It is. I will note it is fully playable single player, and there was a recent interview, I think, after the showcase, where the director of the game said that they did spend a lot of time on the single player experience. So maybe that is some consolation, but I guess we'll have to see it when it gets here. Cole, is this one where you feel like you got to jump in with friends?
He's not here.
He's not here.
Oh, he left. I should have been looking.
I will just say real quick, just to go off your last point. I feel like Arcane's has earned the benefit of the doubt.
That's true.
Like, they've earned, if they're saying you can play it single player, I would take them at their word, at least till proven otherwise, because they've made game of the year quality games pretty much every time since I can remember. Dishonored, game of the year contender, Prey, game of the year contender, Deathloop, game of the year contender, all single player games. So if they feel this can be played single player, I'm going to trust them on that. They've earned that.
I don't think for me personally, I'm not concerned that it can be played single player. I'm more concerned with like the whole vibe of the game itself. It seems like it's less like vampire and more more comedic, I guess, in tone. I guess I wanted a more serious game as opposed to just another Left 4 Dead or just another, 4-player co-op zombie slaying game or vampire slaying game.
It's vampire. I said zombie too. It's vampire.
Are you saying that you wanted something more in the style of Dishonored, like more of that tone?
Yeah, more in the style. Yeah, something like more serious, like more of a drama than a comedy.
Yeah, I get that. It is a lighter, jokier tone. In fact, it's actually more like the tone of Deathloop than their prior games. Which is interesting.
Deathloop was very comedic, for sure.
Yeah, I like Deathloop. I just this one seemed more comedic than that, I guess. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be free on Game Pass, so maybe I'll try it out and see how it goes.
We shall see, indeed. I was actually going to ask you, Cole, if you feel like Redfall is a game that you have to play with other players, or if it's one that you think would be good alone.
See, I don't like. That's why I want to play the game, is because I can play with other people.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of these. Like I've told you before, I'm not a fan of these arcane single player games. Mm-hmm. So that's what appeals to me. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't care. But I like the setting and I like the multiplayer, and the vampire theme seems pretty neat.
Yeah,
so I'm down.
Well, speaking of playing with others, I have a proposal for you guys. Will you play Fallout 76 with me?
Dude, I will. Honestly, dude, I'm game. 100%. 100%.
Nope, they burned the bridge. They ruined it. I'm not playing it.
See, I'd have to start from ground zero. So it's like,
me too. I have not played any Fallout 76.
Let's start tomorrow.
I will say, if we're subscribed, if you guys are subscribed to the new PlayStation Plus service, I believe that this is one of the games in that service because it's on PS Now. So it is currently, like, if you have PS Now, it is currently playable there. So that might reduce the barrier to entry.
Also on Game Pass too. It's on Game Pass.
Oh, it's on Game Pass.
I could have sworn this game was a free to play game. Is it not?
I don't think it released. It didn't release as a free to play, but if it's on all these services, it essentially is free to play without being free to play.
Right.
So what we're seeing here is footage of the Pit expansion. The Pit was obviously one of the DLC locations in Fallout 3, which is the thing that's kind of grabbing me here. I've kind of looked askance at Fallout 76 for a while, kind of thinking, is this something I should jump into? I'm sure that since they've given it so much more attention over the past couple of years, I'm sure it's a much better game than it started as. And I love Fallout. I like Fallout 4 well enough. Is this something that I could get into with friends? And I think the Pit is the excuse that I need to give it a real try. But yeah, I mean, like, let's do it. Cole,
can I ask you this? How is this game set up? Like, I have no idea. We just get in this open world and just go on missions. I mean, how is it set up?
Yeah, I played like 2 hours when there was a free weekend a long time ago, and it's very much like a Fallout game. I mean, you're just wandering around the open world. You're coming across quests. You're coming across towns and settlements.
That seems pretty fun. Yep.
Are y'all two not down for that? Of it?
Like, West Virginia.
The Pit is in Pittsburgh.
No, I'm saying in terms of Fallout 76. Like, what is?
Yeah, it's in Appalachia, West Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the John Denver song, "Take Me Home, Country Roads"? It was a good trailer. It was a really good trailer. I liked it.
My thing is with Fallout. I think I will play it with you, Ben. I have never been the biggest fan of Fallout's combat, even though I like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. I have never been the biggest fan of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4's combat. It is always just about the exploring the world for me.
Right.
And think how cool this would be. Like, we're all pretty much going in blind. It would be. We definitely would not have a bad time. We would have a good time for sure.
I think so.
You know what else you said that about, Cole? Sea of Thieves.
And we did not have a good time though. We had some stories.
We had a good time over there. It was just it was a monotonous time too, but it was a good time.
I tell you what, I've never been able to bring you guys back, but we had a good time.
I think we'll have a good time with it. I think it's definitely when does this release? It's at
September.
Yeah, I think by September, I think we should definitely give this a try, because that's one of my favorite DLCs for Fallout 3 as well. I love Fallout 3. Just it's DC, so I just love that whole entire era of Fallout. So I would love to just come in and try it again, get some nostalgia vibes.
It seems like it could be a good summer game.
Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Moving right along with the games at the Xbox showcase. This is one that's on my fantasy draft that I'm a little miffed they didn't announce the date for. That would be Hollow Knight Silk Song. This game's going to be great, right? This game, there's no way that this game is going to be bad. Hollow Knight's excellent.
Can't fail.
Are we all in agreement there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But will it come out this year?
Will it ever release?
Yeah.
That is the big question.
The gameplay that they showed, it was a lot of gameplay, and it all looks really good, really fun. More Hollow Knight, and like they improved it where it could be improved. But yeah, they just said they didn't for this one. It was really odd because there was no coming 2022, no coming 2023, just nothing.
I feel like
it just ended.
I'm sorry to say this, Ben. I feel like there's absolutely no chance this comes out in 2022.
I'm feeling that too.
Because if they would have said it, they would have said 2022. Like, even just saying the year 2022 would have been enough. They didn't even say that. And the only thing we know is all the games in the showcase are confirmed for the next 12 months.
Right. And
that's a large window.
Is that right? Is that right? 12 months?
That is true. Okay. And the thing is that at the end of the showcase, Xbox showed all of the games that they said were coming out in the next 12 months. And in the slides, they had every game in 2022 or 2023, and Hollow Knight was nowhere to be seen. It wasn't in either one.
We might be playing this June 13th, 2023 within that window. So I've never tried Hollow Knight, so I'm not like the most, invested. I played a little bit of it. I see the appeal of it. I just haven't played enough of it to form an actual opinion on it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great game when it comes out, just based on what I've seen of it. But yeah, I just don't think it's coming out 2022. I just don't see it.
Yeah, my fantasy draft is crying, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I counterpicked it after this.
I saw this, savage! Oh my god,
I was like, this ain't coming out.
Cold world, man.
Rick and Morty fans can rejoice. We've got a new game from the creator of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, High on Life. This game is kind of way bigger than I expected from Squanch Games. It looks like it's pretty in depth. It's a first person shooter where like your guns are all characters, which seems pretty fun. This game, I don't know exactly what to expect here, but it's got like a Bethesda game vibes to me, like, so I expect something maybe on the level of what was Obsidian's latest
Grounded?
No, not Grounded. The sci-fi one that was by the creator.
The Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, yeah, thank you. I'm kind of getting Outer Worlds, like silly Outer Worlds vibes from this.
If it can match the scope of Outer Worlds, that would be the sweet spot for this game.
Yeah.
Because the one problem I had with Outer Worlds was I just couldn't connect with the world, really. It just felt very generic to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be anything but. Yeah, it's going to be the exact opposite. This reminds me more of I'm a pretty decent sized Rick and Morty fan, but I'm an even bigger Solar Opposites fan.
Oh yeah,
I love Solar Opposites. This reminds me more of that than Rick and Morty. And gotcha. I am like, that to me speaks, because I did this the same studio that made the VR game? Like,
yes. Yep, Trevor Saves the Universe.
That felt more Rick and Morty, and I liked it, but it was fine. I think this one feels more grand. This one feels, the humor is just a little different than Rick and Morty. It feels more Solar Opposites to me. I'm looking forward to this. And day one Game Pass, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
I believe. Yeah.
I'm looking
this
forward
is
to
like, this is like a night and day production value difference from Trover. I mean, Trover was fun and silly, but it was like,
it was a
very
VR
much
game
seemed
too.
like a budget game. Yeah, it was.
But even from a VR game standpoint, it felt budget.
Yeah, it did. It did, right. So yeah, this is very interesting to me, and I hope it pays off. I really like this idea where like your guns talk to you. That's
that's awesome.
great.
And the bullets talk to you too. Like,
Right.
Yeah, everything.
That's great.
Totally absurd.
I'm really excited because I've never not liked Squanch games. Accounting Plus, Trevor Saves the Universe. I always love them. They don't review well. They never review well, but I always love them. So it's one of those guilty pleasure kind of games for me.
Right.
So I'll be playing it.
They're reviewed by people with no humor.
Exactly. We need to lighten up. But yeah, if you like Rick and Morty or Solar Opposites, yeah, these is literally the same exact type of humor. So
yeah, let's talk real quick about Riot Games integration with Game Pass. This one was kind of weird. Alfredo, do you want to explain what was going on here?
Yeah, so they had a little bit of a trailer announcement for Riot Games is joining the Xbox family, kind of. So it's not another acquisition, so don't worry about that. But it's more of the case where, okay, League of Legends, Wild Rift, regular League of Legends, Valorant, like all of these Riot Games properties that are huge, that have huge followings, are now being a part of Game Pass. And I thought it was a little bit weird because all of their games are free to play, but what they're doing is that they're saying if you use it through Game Pass, you will automatically have all of the characters unlocked for instead of you having to earn the characters. No, if you download it and play it through Game Pass, then you'll automatically have all of the characters unlocked. And that's going to be the case for League of Legends, all of their games, really. And I think for one of their games, it's like they have like a select fighters are unlocked. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting move to include that in your presentation when these are all free to play games, and just saying, slapping a Game Pass on it isn't really doing much, really.
Well, doesn't it bring them to Xbox?
Yeah, it's kind of that's a good point. It's an enticement to play these games through their platform, right?
And on console, right?
Yeah.
I don't think all of them are on console. I think some of them were on mobile, right?
Okay. Yeah, some of them were definitely on mobile.
Yeah, I'm genuinely asking. Like, I don't know.
I was speaking more on the consumer and the gamer part, where like, okay, it doesn't really. I mean, I guess people who are into that, into those types of games, I feel like they wouldn't care that much, because if they are into those games, they would already be playing those on their dedicated platform, and they wouldn't just simply move over because they would likely have those characters already unlocked. So I just thought it was very odd, I guess, or not so useful in a gaming showcase.
It's an interesting kind of new wrinkle to the Game Pass question, or like the service question. It's not just about games that you would otherwise buy. It's about augmenting games that you can already play for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like, because for a long time, a game subscription was like your World of Warcraft subscription. You have to pay $15 a month to play World of Warcraft or whatever it was. So now that's like baked into the Game Pass cake, where you've got a Riot subscription. If you also have an EA subscription, right? You have an EA subscription and you have a Riot subscription now if you have a Game Pass subscription.
Right.
And if you have a PlayStation subscription, you have something of a Ubisoft subscription as well. It's kind of strange, in terms of like TV and movie subscriptions, that exists to an extent, but you have to pay for them separately on Hulu or on Amazon or whatever. So it's interesting that this expectation is being set up now, where you're getting these kind of like cross-promotional brand augmentations on top of your existing service, without having to pay any extra for them.
Right. What would be interesting, I guess, if we ever had something along the lines of Super Smash, where you actually have DLC to give you different fighters, and then it's on, Game Pass, where you get all the DLC fighters. I think that could work. But something like this, where if you just
isn't that what it is? Isn't that what the Riot thing is?
Well, you don't pay for the Riot games. You don't pay for the characters. I guess you could, but you earn them through gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess you could pay for them to unlock them faster.
Okay.
But yeah, you can definitely. In Smash, you can't do that. You just have to buy those fighters in order to have them.
Question: does this mean Valorant's coming to Xbox?
I don't think they said that. I think they made it pretty clear that like this was going to be across different platforms. Some of these games were on mobile, some of these games were on PC, and some of them were on Xbox. So I don't think they made any pronouncements about games being ported to platforms that they're not currently on. They just said like if you have an Xbox Game Pass subscription, then wherever you play these games, you're going to get these extras.
Got it.
Yep.
That makes sense. That makes it a little more disappointing for people
it's
who
not
want to
it's
play
not that
on
big
console.
of a right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's an important wrinkle to kind of understand. So yep.
It had a little screen that did show on what platforms they were available, but most of them were PC only.
One game, I think League of Legends Wild Rift, that one is coming to Xbox Series X.
Okay. That's a mobile game, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So that's coming to Game Pass on console. The rest of them, it doesn't seem to have any of that description. So I assume you're right, Ben, that these are not coming to console. So it seems like you're just getting these rights, almost like the perk system that, like I said, like you can use the perk system for Game Pass. You can get like free trials of things. You can unlock different skins. Like I unlock a lot of skins through perks to play in Halo.
Yeah,
and Destiny. Destiny has perks too in Game Pass.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of that on Twitch Prime too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's more of that. Like I don't think you're gonna see this on the Game Pass like app. You're gonna see this in the perk section.
That makes sense.
So it's gonna be interesting. I don't play any of these games, so it's for me. This is a nothing burger. But for the fans of these games, good for y'all.
Yeah. Let's talk about a game that we have all played. The original of this is the sequel, Plague Tale Requiem. I forget. God, did we get a date for this, Alfredo? Do you know?
No, we did not. They just said.
Did we get a year?
2022.
Yeah.
So this is coming out day one on Game Pass. So that is, I think, news that we didn't know before.
I'm interested to hear Cole's thoughts on this because Cole, you were kind of down on this game. You were down on the original game, right?
I mean, I just was like, I didn't like. I got kind of tired of all the drab color and the rats and stuff. It kind of grossed me out a little bit.
It's very dire.
Yeah. This one
and the combat too, right?
Yeah, and the combat too. I mean, the story was okay. It was pretty cool, but this one looks like it adds some color into it, and I don't know. It doesn't look as bad. It doesn't look as gross and stuff as the first one did to me. So I'm all right. I may try this one. I'm not super hyped for it or anything though.
Yeah, I'm sort of feeling the same way. I really did enjoy the first game, but I feel like this one, just from what I'm seeing, is not terribly different from the first one.
They're not trying to innovate, I guess, that much.
Yeah, it's just the next chapter in the story, and I don't really care that much about what the next chapter of the story is. Like, I thought the story wrapped up in a pretty good way. I wasn't like left hungering for more. At the same time, it was good. So as long as this one gets a similar kind of reception, I'll probably play it eventually.
Yeah, great. I'll watch a 4K stream of it.
Yeah,
you're not gonna play it if it's free on Game Pass, which it will be.
That's a hard request, man. Like I appreciated the first game. I had a lot of fun with certain aspects of it. I thought it dragged.
Yeah, the rats kept wearing me out. Okay, here we go. Another 1 million rats I got to deal with. You deal with those.
And then the Dragon Ball Z fight with the rats at the end just took me out of it. So
that was absurd.
That was absurd. That was absolutely absurd. And I hope they don't do anything.
Childhood wonder.
I hope they don't do anything like that in this game.
Just too
much.
Much.
Dude, I mean, like if that's how the last game ended, that's the new floor. So it's all up from here. You know, it's all going to be even more fantastic.
Rat powered battles now. It's
well,
tornado
actually,
rat.
From what they showed, I don't think it will, because they actually showed a lot of Amicia being apart from her brother. So I think and they did. I actually watched, like, they had an extended look as a part of, I can't remember which other many other showcase it was, but they had an extended look where they talked more about the developers, and they said how they wanted to focus on expanding combat and stealth. So I think that will remain like the focus, which I really liked and hope that they improved upon. But when I also was watching this gameplay trailer and more about the devs, they were talking about how the story is a big part from them. And I was along the same lines where I thought it wrapped up nicely, but I wouldn't be mad if they made another one, because they executed it really well. And I feel like we're kind of in a time and place where we don't get narrative driven games like that game did its narrative, which was very well. So I'm really excited for it. The only thing I'm a little cautious about is the story made it very clear that this might be a rehash of The Last of Us Part 2. So I'm a little hesitant on that in terms of Amicia, the main character, and Ellie comparison. Like, she's clearly going down the same exact road. So it'll be interesting seeing how they hopefully don't just retread the same exact beats, but they were definitely doing that in the trailer. So yeah, that's only bad thing so far. Cautious thing.
What are the odds that by the end of this game we're gonna get a rat kaiju monster? Like, what are the odds of this?
Pretty high.
One can only hope.
Like, that's the thing. Like, this game, like, for me, it was grounded in reality in a lot of ways, but the ways it wasn't grounded was super just out there. And I'm wondering how far they're gonna take it with the sequel.
Yeah.
I think Rat Kaiju Monster is out there. I don't think that's gonna happen per se, but I think
maybe the third one.
It's on the table.
That would be insane, and I think Cole would not be down for that.
I'll turn it off.
Well, I'll let you guys know how the third one turns out.
Well, you talked me into it a little bit there, Alfredo. So I think I'm going to check it out as well.
Yeah, it's free. You got nothing to lose on Game Pass.
Yeah,
if you have it.
This is a game that I do not need any talking into, because I've been waiting for this game for a long time. This is Scorn. I can't remember anything today. It's called Scorn, and if you do not like H.R. Giger's art, you should stay away from this game, because this game is absolutely H.R. Giger 100,000%. My only major concern with this game is I remember seeing gameplay of it a year or two ago, so it was a while ago. I mean, this game's been in development for a while. And it seemed kind of straightforward underneath all of like the weirdness of it. Like the gameplay itself and the level design and all that seemed a little too straightforward for my liking. If a game is going to look this disgusting and this oppressive, I want the game to feel a little bit like that too. I want it to be confusing. I want it to be not of this world. I don't want it to feel like there's these systems that underlie this wonderfully arted thing, but the art is not supported by the systems. So I want this to be a strange and horrifying experience. And yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to in October 21st or something like that. When this game comes out. This is a perfect Halloween game.
Do you think it's gonna review well?
Yeah, it all depends on how it plays. I think there's probably enough people like me that are like that are horrified by H.R. Giger, horrified and fascinated by H.R. Giger's art, and want to be immersed in a world like that, to where it could score well if it plays well. But I mean, you can't argue with that art, so it's all about the gameplay at that point.
Yeah, it looks disgusting.
I was gonna say, it looked gross.
It looks very disgusting. I think it's gonna have a charm to it. Like, I'm not like opposed to grotesque things, but this is definitely a wait for either review or Ben's opinion. Ben's recommendation on, because I'm not as big of a fan of this art style, so it's really going to depend on how this game runs, how it functions, the systems. So I'm cautiously optimistic because I did like what I saw. I like the vibe of it, but I'm not as in love with the art style as I think Ben is. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, this is a game that I won't play probably, but I will definitely watch a Let's Play of it.
Sounds good. Well, I made my case for Scorn. Alfredo, it's time for you to make your case for the last case of Benedict Fox.
Hooey, this is an Alfredo game. If you guys have not seen this trailer, this is right up my alley. So this is a 2D side-scrolling Metrovania game where you're not really sure what you are. Are you a detective? Are you just trying to figure out what's going on in this manner? You're not really sure. But the art, it really looks beautiful. It's like this blend of cartoony mixed with kind of like a Coraline kind of vibe. But it really does seem like my type of game because it's kind of like a platformer, a little bit of action, but also has some weird Coraline story going on to it. So yeah, just looking at the trailer, there's just some weird stuff going on, and I think the Metrovania of it is really what's pulling me toward really a day one purchase for it. But yeah, if you see the trailer, you know it's my type of game.
Yeah, I was like into this at the very beginning when the car drives in and like when he walks into the mansion. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then when I saw it was 2D, I was like, that kind of took the air out of the tires there for a little bit. For me,
Love me a 2D game, and
it
has a cool name. The Last Case of Benjamin Fox, so cool.
Benedict Fox, yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah. What do you think about this one, Cole?
I'm kind of with Alfredo. I kind of like this one. I like the art style, and I'm on board for this one. I don't know.
Yeah, the art is pretty cool. The art is pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm on board for this one. This one looks neat. So I'll wait. I'll see what Alfredo says, and then maybe jump on board on this. But it looks
I'm gonna love it. I already know. I think it comes out. Does this also come out in October?
I don't remember what the release date is. Does this one speak to you, Thomas?
Partially. I can't say anything negative about it. I like the art style. I'm not as big into 2D Metrovanias as Alfredo, but I like my fair share of them. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. I'm going to wait for Alfredo's opinion on it since he's so excited for it. So yeah, I like it.
It's 2023, unfortunately.
Yeah, spring 2023.
So I'll be waiting a while for that opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit. This is another one that Alfredo picked out as potential interesting game.
Oh, yes.
This is Flintlock Siege of Dawn. And actually I kind of agree. I think this one looks pretty cool. I dig the setting of this one. It's like a little bit of what I like about Greedfall, except I think more stylized. So I dig it.
Yeah.
Alfredo, what do you think?
Yeah, totally agreed. It's kind of like a medieval fantasy setting, but also with a magic cat or whatever your animal companion is. But yeah, it's just like it's a third person action adventure game, and it looks to have a pretty cool story. The art and open world looks really, really good. So yeah, I'm just excited for it. And this actually isn't the first time we're seeing this game. I believe it was actually first announced last Not-E3, basically. But this is the first time we're actually seeing gameplay for it. So if you like action adventures, it's, hack and slash, nothing new, but it looks cool.
It looks a lot like Forspoken.
I disagree.
You don't think so?
Forspoken looks way more awesome.
I feel like it looks like a poor man's Forspoken. I can agree.
It kind of does have a little like it.
Forspoken,
yeah. The way she traverses and stuff, and it's third person, and the magic, and the old school feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
It does look interesting. Yeah.
I can't say I'm excited for it, but I am going to look out for it. Probably one of those things where I watch reviews. See if it's. I feel like if it gets a 7, I might try it out.
Yeah.
Because it looks interesting as far as the combat goes.
Pretty much all of these games that were shown at this showcase were Game Pass games.
It's amazing.
Releasing day one. So this is another one that will be available day one. I'm also going to note that this game and Scorn are both published by Kepler Interactive. That is the indie developer collective publisher. So all of the indie developers came together and they collectively own the publisher.
Oh, cool.
And it's like 12 studios or something like that. So this is interesting. We're kind of seeing the first fruits of that indie collective. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see. It seems like Game Pass is like, the business model for them right now, which
that's awesome.
It makes some sense. I hope at least Microsoft is giving them a good paycheck on these games because they look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
This one does not look pretty cool to me. But I'm going to see what you guys think about this one. This is As Dusk Falls, a Tribeca Festival official 2022 selection.
So what I will say about this one, so this is a narrative driven game, right? Yeah. It's what's that game called? Something about Strange. What's it called?
Life is Strange?
Yeah, it's Life is Strange.
Oh, right.
That's what this game is. But you're not moving around and there's much more, it looks like there's much more diversion of choices a la Until Dawn or The Quarry, where like you are making these choices and they have various different outcomes. So when I first saw this, the actual art to it, I didn't like it, like the stop motion. Yeah. But as I watched it and as I was watching this trailer, I got invested in the story to the point where I was like, okay, I kind of have to see where this ends because I'm too invested now. And I actually got used to the art style and the stop motion of it to the point where I thought it was charming. So this is a Game Pass game and it comes out, I believe, in a month. So you have if you like narrative driven games, it's worth giving a try. If you have Game Pass, I definitely will. So you guys will be hearing whether or not it's worth it.
Awesome.
I'm so conflicted on this because, as y'all know, I'm probably the biggest Life is Strange fan on the panel. Love Life is Strange. I love games like Detroit. I love games like I kind of like Beyond Two Souls. Don't like Heavy Rain, but I like games of this ilk. I do not like this art style.
Yeah,
this art style is ugly. It's unappealing to me. Yeah. It reminds me of a game I played called Virginia. I don't know if anybody's played that.
Yeah, I played Virginia. I actually thought Virginia had a pretty appealing art style.
I personally didn't like it. Yep. It just felt way too bland to me. And this it looks better than Virginia does, but it's on the same kind of tier for me. I'm not a fan of how it's stop motion, but I love the setting. Like Arizona in 1999 is a very interesting setting. I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna definitely play this game when it comes out on Game Pass. Whether I like it, that's a different question. But I am very curious, like Alfredo is on this game. It speaks to me in a weird way.
Yeah, you guys need to rewatch this trailer later with the sound, see what the story's about, because it does seem very interesting. It might hook you like it did me.
Cool. You got any?
Are these pictures, you think? And they just put like one of those little cartoon filters on them? Is that what they've done for this?
It looks hand drawn.
I don't think it is. I think it's. I wonder if it's actors and they just put those little like.
I think I think you're right. These are trace overs of photographed actors. I'm almost positive because that would by far be the most cost effective way to produce.
Yeah, and I think that's why they did it because it was very cost effective. I don't know. This doesn't look interesting at all. Unless it comes out and it's like some crazy critical success, then I'll play it. But
hey, I'll let you guys know.
God, it looks terrible to me.
I'll let you know how much you're missing out.
I'm afraid
apparently, you can play it multiplayer as well.
Interesting.
I'm not sure. I think it's along the same system as
up to 8 players. It says.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, and get some more people too.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat here where I like the idea of this game, but God, I do not like that art style. I do not like because it's not even stop. I love stop motion animation. That's not stop motion animation.
It's a weird...
like blending pose to pose, like frozen frames. It's not even really animated. And then the things that are animated, like the full 3D, like the blending of the 2D actors with the 3D, the 3D things in the scene, that drives me nuts. I can't stand that.
I have a question. For you, Ben, because I like stop motion too, but I like stop motion mainly because I know how hard it is to make stop motion. And I appreciate the effort that goes into it. So it's almost like I give it a break, because it's like, I know how much effort goes in. Is that kind of how you feel about stop motion, or do you actually like you prefer stop motion sometimes over other forms of animation?
That's a good question. It's hard to say, because when you see it, for the most part, when something is stop motion or claymation or something like that. I'm a really big fan of Wallace and Gromit.
Me too. I love Wallace and Gromit.
So I think that kind of shaped my appreciation for stop motion animation, to where I would say that I like the quality of stop motion animation. It not in the sense of it being like high quality animation, but I like the feel of it, the quality of it in that sense. That kind of that physicality that you don't get in something that is
computer generated.
Yeah, computer generated or 2D, where it's like it's not, it didn't really, it wasn't really in the real world, right? You can tell when something was photographed in the real world versus when it was generated. So yeah, like a game like Harold Halibut, which we've talked about before, which is stop motion animated, really excites me. But also in part because of what you're saying, where it's like, man, they put in a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's like it almost shines through almost, because like psychologically, I'm like, I know I've seen people do stop motion, and it's like, it is so tedious.
Yeah.
So to know that went into it, and and the quality of it is great, it almost like I give it a break. And I do appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like this, because it's not, like, you're right, it's not stop motion, but it has the worst qualities of stop motion.
Yeah. So I'm going to just pull some shit out of my ass and say this, but if I had to guess, this art style is probably more difficult to put together than if they just had the traditional rigged characters in a scene that were animating in a Telltale style way, right? That's I'd have to imagine that is probably less difficult to do than tracing over all of these poses the way that they did in this game. So this is it's an intentional choice,
stylistic,
right? That said, I don't think it looks good, and I don't think it comes off as a good choice. In my opinion, it just doesn't read well to me.
Like, this story got to be A1.
Yeah.
It just has to be A1. If it's A1, I'm in. But if I'm getting bad vibes off the first 2 hours,
I'll let you guys know. I will be playing this one regardless, so you'll hear my review on it.
Well, I think it's safe to say that I will be playing this next one regardless, because it is from one of my favorite studios, Obsidian. And this is probably the biggest surprise of the Xbox showcase for me. This medieval game, this medieval RPG from Obsidian, that more than anything reminds me of the South Park RPG that they did. But I love this. I have never seen anything like this in the RPG space. So I can't wait to see like what this becomes. I love that Obsidian is still producing games of varying scopes, right? They have their AAA games in Avowed and The Outer Worlds. They have their multiplayer experiment with Ungrounded, or Grounded, right? That was what it's called. And then they have a game like this. It's, very singular 2D game that is unlike anything that they've made before. So this game is called Pentiment, and it totally speaks to me. What about you guys?
I'm wondering what the actual gameplay of it is, because they showed it a little bit. They showed a little bit of puzzling, but they also said it's going to be a narrative adventure game. So I'm picturing more of like a point and click kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I can't get over in this game? The freaking text box. I hate so much how they have the words on there, but you can't really see, and then they fill in. It's driving me absolutely nuts.
You can see it before they fill it in, though.
Yeah, but that's what's driving me nuts.
It's too slow.
Hopefully, there's an option to turn that off. I think there probably will be an option to turn that off.
You know, I think that they're onto something, and I'm with you, Ben. I would love this if it was a true, like, well, I mean, what I would consider like a true, like, RPG, like we actually, like, in the vein of South Park. But I think this is more like what Alfredo said. It's going to be an adventure.
Right.
Like,
we don't see any battle system here.
Yeah, there's no battle system. I don't know that you're going to be. Are you going to be able to go into all the? I don't know.
I mean, they literally say a narrative adventure.
Right.
Like they literally say that in the title or in the trailer.
Yeah,
so
and there's the puzzle element. So
I want to like this game because I respect Obsidian. I think Obsidian, not from a just success standpoint, but I think they are like the Insomniac of the Xbox studios, where they can take. There's so many. Insomniac has made so many different types of games. And they all kind of feel like Insomniac, no matter what game they're making, whether it's Resistance, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's Ratchet and Clank, whether it's Sunset Overdrive. They're all such different games, but they have that Insomniac flavor. And you can say the same thing about Obsidian. Like Obsidian, they've made so many games from Fallout, New Vegas to Outer Worlds to Grounded. Like they've made so many different games, but they still have that Obsidian feel. And this one still feels like Obsidian to me.
Yep.
It feels mostly like you said, like those South Park games.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, like everybody's saying, it's not RPG, and I wish this was RPG. But I still think it's going to have that Obsidian charm. And I think that's going to carry it a long way. So I'm looking forward to it just off the strength of the studio.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's coming out text box issue.
Well, we'll see if they can fix it before November when it releases.
For sure. Hopefully they'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll write them a strongly worded letter.
So this one is called Cocoon. This is from one of the designers from Play Dead that worked on Limbo and Inside. Not exactly what I would expect from Play Dead.
Right.
From someone from Play Dead. But looks interesting. This is a puzzler for sure. So Alfredo, is this one up your alley?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I was also shocked by when they said Inside from the developer that, because it didn't. I could see it as the trailer went on just by the puzzles, but it also was giving me super Inception vibes, because basically you go within a cocoon within a cocoon within a cocoon, and they're all different worlds from what it looks like. So I love puzzlers and I love platformers, and that's exactly what this is. So I'll definitely be trying it because it looks good. It looks fun.
Cole, do you like these kind of puzzle platformers? You're muted.
God dang it. I keep doing that. Sorry. Yeah, I do. I usually don't try them unless they're very, like, unless y'all were to recommend them.
Right.
But I do like them.
What about you, Thomas?
The problem is, if I was going to play this game, it would be on Switch. And I run into the conundrum of, I have it free on Game Pass.
Yep.
I'm not going to want to pay $30 for it on Switch. So it's going to live in that purgatory for a little while.
It did seem to me during this Xbox conference that they were putting a little bit more emphasis on cloud streaming as an option for these games.
Yeah,
Do you think this is something that you would try on your phone?
Yeah, if it is responsive, if it's almost seamless, I would try this. I think it looks interesting. I like the art style. It doesn't remind me at all of Inside or Limbo, and I love both those games. but I do like the concept of it. It reminds me of a lot of other games of this ilk. So I'll definitely try it out, but I can't say I'm looking forward to it because, it's this is not my favorite genre of game in general. So, it's going to hopefully it appeals to the Alfredos of the world, hopefully it appeals to people who love this genre. It looks like it has potential at the very least.
It's an Alfredo game.
Yeah, this is another game where I'm like, I've seen this game 20 times.
Yeah.
This is a good rendition of this game, but I've seen this type of game many, many times. Probably
we've been down this
probably
road
many
before.
times this weekend. Just with these showcases.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's probably a pass for me, but it does look it's got a good art style to it. What about Ravenlock? This one, from the first like couple seconds of this one, I was like, oh, this is another like farming sim, like PC kind of game. And then she gets pulled into the mirror.
And then it's Alice in Wonderland, the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Which is exactly what pulled me into it. As you can see from the trailer, literally Alice in Wonderland. There's even a rabbit right there who's guiding you around. There's the Queen of Hearts. It has a little bit of Coraline vibe as well. So it's kind of like those the Alice Madness Returns kind of vibe, but a little bit more cartoony. A lot bit more cartoony. So yeah, it's just it's a cute action adventure game. I'm gonna play it.
What's interesting to me is the voxel art on all of the enemies and all of the like things that come from this world, but then like the main character is just regular 3D character. That's a cool kind of split between the real and the not real stuff. And yeah, I dig the semi-dark representation of Alice in Wonderland, because it's certainly not as dark as like you said those American McGee Alice games, but yeah. So Cole, what about you?
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I kind of hope that you can go back and forth between the two worlds, which I mean, I guess I assume you can, but I think that would be pretty neat if you could go back to the real world and there's some kind of mechanic between both,
Yeah, that would be interesting. This game like almost has like a bit of Octopath Traveler look to it. To me, do you guys see that? Where in like these scenes where it's got the realistic lighting with the...
I can see it.
I can see it when you say the lighting. I think it has Octopath lighting for sure.
Yeah.
It also to me has like in a weird way a little bit of Minecraft. Like in terms of the blockiness of some of the like characters, especially the rabbit they showed. Like there's a blockiness to it that gives it its own unique like art style. So from an art style perspective, like this looks incredible.
It does some depth of field stuff too. That reminds me of Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I might just try it just based on the art style. The combat really didn't look that great to me. Just to be told, I like once we started seeing some combat, I was kind of taken out of it a little bit.
You know what? I think this is going to be another situation of. It's gonna be what is the game called that I told you guys you need to play still? It is the one with strategy. It's the one with the dice and
Lost in Random.
Yes, I think it's gonna be one of these where the combat isn't gonna be that great, but it's gonna be good enough. But the world itself and the story is like chef's kiss. That's what this one reminds
I can see that. I can definitely see that too. I definitely gonna try it out, especially since it's a Game Pass game. What's the hurt in trying it out?
But that's the theme of this entire presentation is like, might as well try it out. It's on Game Pass. I think what Xbox is banking on.
Yeah, at least to a deeper conversation. But yeah, that is exactly what they're saying for a lot of these games. It's like most people probably wouldn't pay the 30 or 40 for a lot of these games, but just to try them out, why not?
Yep. What do you lose? Speaking of which, what do you lose trying out this game? This one might have better combat for you, Thomas.
I love combat.
This game is called Erebon. I forget what the subtitle
is. What is this game?
Yeah, I thought I missed this game too. Yeah,
this one is very like This one's very stealth oriented. It gave me like
origami vibes.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking of there are these stealth games where you play as like a goblin or something like that.
Oh, Sticks?
Yeah, Sticks.
Yeah.
Sticks.
I forgot about those games. Oh man, yeah. Those are good games.
Yeah, this one is very. I just immediately thought it was hopefully a better version of origami, because the literal mechanic from that game is you blend in with the shadows,
right,
and you can teleport by using shadows, and that's exactly what's being seen in this gameplay.
Right, there's a lot of that here.
Yeah, it does look better though. Like the traveling within the shadows, and it does look much higher production value than that game. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this will be like a better rendition of those games.
All right, well, Erebon Shadow Legacy, that's that one. I think we're out of the territory of small fries at this point. This might be one of the biggest surprises of the whole showcase to me. So I got to get the Weeb's take on it, of course.
Ready.
Yeah. So the biggest mind blow to me is that Persona 4 Golden is coming to Xbox consoles before it comes to PS4 and PS5. That's crazy. That is nuts. That's a sea change. That to me feels like, what is PlayStation doing letting these games not locking these things down? Because they've just been kind of these de facto exclusives for so long, and maybe there was some deal there where Atlas always wanted to port these games, but PlayStation gave them some money to not do so. But first it was Persona 4 Golden on Steam. Now it's Persona 3 Portable, 4 Golden, and 5 Royal on Xbox platforms. What do we think about this?
Okay. I feel like I should go first since I'm the Duke of Anime.
Yeah.
When I saw that Persona 4 Golden was being ported to Xbox first, I didn't see the trailer. I just saw the headline on Reddit. I almost lost it. And I wasn't, you know what? I wasn't mad at Sony. Do you know who I'm mad at? No. What are we doing, Nintendo? What are we doing?
Right.
Persona 4 Golden is made for the Switch. Like it totally would be the perfect Switch game.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So bad.
That was my first thought when I saw that. 2, Microsoft just made a big move.
Yeah.
Because because now I have to think like, so does this mean Persona 6 is multi-plat now? Like, is that what's gonna happen? Because
I don't know.
because Persona has forever been a PlayStation series. Because Persona has been around since, I think the first one came out in 1997. Cool. It's been PlayStation only for the most part. So for them to get the 3 games that are in the modern era, because those other Persona games have not aged that well. Persona 1 and 2 are not I wouldn't recommend them. Persona 3, 4, and 5 to me are 5 out of 5 games for me. For Xbox to get those and their Game Pass games, that's a big get.
Mm-hmm.
That is a game changer, because now you've opened the door to, is Persona 6 going to be a Game Pass game? That's possible now. And if you had told me that Xbox would get the Persona games before Nintendo did, I would have said that's impossible. But here we are. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's cool, and so these games are all coming to Game Pass, as we can see here. This does not necessarily. The first one to come.
October once again.
Yeah, Persona 5 Royal, October 10th, 21st,
and then the rest probably 2023.
Yeah, we don't have dates on the other two. The question here, because obviously this is Xbox's showcase. I think there were some other things shown in the showcase that were later announced for PS4 and other platforms. I mean, for instance, Fallout 76, the pit is going to be
Plague Tale as well.
Plague Tale, right? Sure. So we don't know for sure, just because these have been announced for Xbox, that they will not be coming to other platforms. This might just signal the console release of Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5, or and Persona 3 Portable, because Persona 5 Royal is already on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's free on, not Royal, but you can get Persona 5 for free on PlayStation if you have a PS5. It's in the Plus collection.
It used to be. It's out. It's out of it now.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's still like you said, it's still not on Switch. Only Persona 4 Golden is on Steam, so that would mean that Persona 3 Portable is coming, and Persona 5 Royal are coming to PC through Xbox for the first time.
That's big too. Yeah,
that's another big one.
I wonder if it's coming to Steam as well. That's
that's the question, right? So it could be coming to all of these platforms all at the same time. Persona 4 Golden sold pretty darn well on Steam, from what I recall.
Yeah,
it did. In the hundreds of thousands of copies. Well after its initial release, probably a decade after its original release. So yeah, I mean, this is a big one. This is a big get, I think, for Microsoft, especially if this has any sort of exclusivity to it. I think they said, like, on all the trailers that they said if, like, they were console exclusives. So I think the fact that it didn't have that might signal something to us, but yeah, anyway, we don't know yet. So either way, Persona on Xbox for the first time ever. It's a big day. It's a big day.
Yep.
Another big thing before we move on to the biggest thing. Probably the biggest disappointment for me of the weekend. So, Kojima Productions is making an Xbox game. We know that for sure now. But all we've seen of it is Kojima's smiling face telling us that he's making an Xbox game. He says it's the game that he's always wanted to make, and he's so happy that he can leverage Xbox's cloud technology to finally make this game. And
then he said bye.
I feel like he said that a lot. Hasn't he said that before?
Probably.
I feel like he said about a lot of games. Like all the Metal Gear, like this is the Metal Gear I wanted to always make. This is, when Death Stranding came out. So he's great at hyping shit up.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this is Hideo Kojima we're talking about. So I'm sure that he has 10,000 notebooks full of games that he wants to make.
But so I'm sure it's also because we assume this is the game that leaked. I believe it was last week. Overdose.
Right, the horror game. Right.
Which is crazy that it leaked and they didn't show anything.
Yeah.
At the showcase.
That's strange.
Yeah. Very crazy, especially because they were aware that, it leaked, but it might have been pre-recorded, so I'm guessing that maybe is what happened.
Is there any chance that that leak is BS? Do we know?
I don't think so. Because I believe it came from a pretty reputable source or a really reliable source who has predicted things in the past when it has come to the showcases. So yeah.
Well, the other thing is I will say with that leak, it was never confirmed whether that's the Xbox game. It was never confirmed. That part was never confirmed. It was just confirmed that this is his new project. So it is very possible, and I don't put anything past Hideo Kojima. It's very possible there are 3 different games in development, and this might be the farthest away. Because we know we're getting Death Stranding 2.
Yep.
The leak game, due to sources, we know that's coming out. This could be a completely different entity in of itself.
That's true.
So it's because he was working on Metal Gear Solid 5 and PT around the same time.
Do we know that Kojima's working on Death Stranding 2, though?
Yeah.
I feel like it's impossible for him not to be working on Death Stranding. I feel like there's no way anybody would even take that on.
Yeah, probably so.
Also, I mean, he tried to step away from Metal Gear so many times and always got sucked back in. So even if he's not working on it right now, if he passes it off to some other people at the studio, he will be working on it eventually.
Yeah.
Although I am curious because that Norman Reedus interview that we're talking about that confirmed Death Stranding 2. It is strange the way that he words what he said there. He said, we're working on the second one now. We're assuming that means Death Stranding 2. Does it mean the second Hideo Kojima game that Norman Reedus has worked on? Does it necessarily mean Death Stranding 2? The interviewer said you're working on a new Death Stranding or whatever, but does Norman Reedus, like when he says we're working on the second one, does he mean that it is literally the second game in the series, or that it's the second, it's the follow-up to Death Stranding that they're both working on? I don't know.
True.
I'm not sure. So
the reporting is all over the place with this.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It really is.
Exactly. It's totally scattershot. It's also, it's definitely possible that there's another Death Stranding in the works. The only reason that I kind of throw some doubt into that is because it seemed like Sony was not really happy with the way that game sold. So I wouldn't be surprised if they stepped away from that. And they, as far as I understand, they own the IP, right?
The IP. Yeah. I believe so, yeah.
I would guess, yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But the only thing we know for sure is he is developing an Xbox game.
Right.
We are just not for sure what that is. We assume it's the leak game.
Right.
But we have no idea.
And the other cool thing is that it's coming. Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming to PS Plus tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
So I finally get to play it.
Yeah, Director's Cut.
Okay, I might try that.
Same with Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
Oh, it is?
With Iki Island, yeah.
I did not know that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Dope. And also Guardians of the Galaxy, which I will be playing soon.
Good game.
You won't regret it.
Cool. Well, that's another big get for Xbox, I think. Having Hideo Kojima in their corner for an exclusive is dope. So I'm down for whatever Kojima's working on next.
Before we get off that, what was the timetable for Death Stranding?
How many years it took?
Like, it was announced when? Like 2016? I feel like 2016 sounds about right.
It was like pretty soon after the whole Konami thing blew up.
Metal Solid 5 2015, I know.
Yeah, I think it was 2016. So I think it was like he set up the studio and then they had a trailer within 6 months.
And then the game came out 2019.
Right. So it was only about 3 years of development.
So we could realistically see this game before like around 2025, which I think that's a big get. And to just be announcing the partnership, that's, we know he can work relatively quickly. It doesn't take 5 years for him to get out of the game.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to whatever he does, but I'm just a shill for Kojima.
Yeah, assuming they were still using Decima, which we don't know. I mean, they could. Wouldn't that suck if they had to change engines because of this deal? I doubt that. I doubt Sony would want to burn bridges like that because they've spent all this time gearing up on Decima.
I don't think you can put. I don't think Decima's going to be used on an Xbox console or Xbox like game studios. It's crazy to think that he might be working on 2 games that are exclusive for each individual platform, both using completely different engines. This guy's a madman. Like that's insane.
He's like, yeah, that's fine.
And God, and Fox Engine just sitting around doing nothing.
Doing nothing. That'll be for the Nintendo Switch exclusive that he's making. Nintendo Switch 2.
One can hope.
One can hope. One can dream.
Well, we've come to the big daddy. This is the reason that Cole has been waiting this whole time. He's been suffering.
He's been charging up.
He's been staying awake for this moment. But first, no, I'm just kidding. We'll get right into it.
And next time,
Starfield. We finally have gameplay of Starfield. It is here. We have seen it in the flesh. And boy, does it look a lot like Fallout. What do you guys think?
And No Man's Sky.
And No Man's Sky. Fallout, No Man's Sky had a baby.
Let's let Cole go first.
All right, I just want to read a few quotes that I saw on the internet. These are too good not to read. Okay, I got it. All right, here's the first quote. I got to admit, ending the showcase with No Man's Sky running at 24 FPS was a pretty bold move.
Okay. That's great.
All right, and then No Man's Sky made the creators of Fallout 76 have this has real potential to be the most broken game ever made, which is true too.
Wow.
And then this is the best one. It's like Bethesda saw No Man's Sky and said, "We can do that, but only about 15% better.
Oh my god,
that's
brutal. That is absolutely brutal.
But I think there is truth in that. It's a joke.
Yeah.
But you got to think like the development of this was like it started around the time No Man's Sky like came out, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely influenced by No Man's Sky, and it's literally like they took their Fallout engine and just tried to mesh it with No Man's Sky. And the combat just looks like. Then I keep thinking like, gosh, Destiny's combat looks so much better than this, and we're on far superior graphics and stuff. But I mean, I know that they're not trying to do just combat, but man, it just kind of fell so flat for me. But I'm still not totally out on it yet. What do y'all think?
You know, when we first... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I got a quick question for Cole. Cole, what... So, for me, Starfield, I was never hyped on it. Just because I tend not to like these types of game, Fallout, all of these. So, I guess I guess this question for all of you guys, what did you guys expect the actual gameplay to look like, or what would you have wanted it to look like?
Like this.
Yeah, no, honestly, like I kind of wanted like a No Man's Sky mixed with a Bethesda game. So like that's kind of what I wanted, but I don't know, for some reason it just doesn't feel. I thought the jump would be a lot greater. It just doesn't look like that big of an advancement to me. But
yeah,
I think that's what disappoints me. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, really.
You want to go first, Ben?
I was actually just going to mention that when we had talked about Starfield after the last trailer or the reveal or whatever it was, the oh no, ads, great.
That's not Starfield.
I was going to mention that.
Cupcakes.
Yeah. I was going to mention that what Cole. I think what we had been talking about was like, imagine if we had No Man's Sky, but with Bethesda's level of quests and characters and narrative
that's kind of what I want
mixed in there, and that definitely seems to be like what this game is. Here's the obligatory lockpicking mini game,
of course,
a staple of any Bethesda product. I kind of am with you in that, like, I see this and I'm just my expectations are met. This is like pretty much exactly what I expected Starfield to be. And so fine, you know, I'm going to play it. I'm not expecting insane things from it. I wasn't all that hyped on Starfield anyway. I was excited for it. I was hopeful that Bethesda would gain back some of their mojo after the hits they've taken recently. But yeah, there's just nothing really exciting about this game to me. You know, the things that these towns or these cities look cool and expansive, but I know how that played out in Fallout 4, where they aren't actually all that cool and expansive, and there's only like 2 of them. And
supposedly it's a whole planet that you can do this.
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
So
the idea of going to all of these planets is cool, but I know that it's not going to be 1,000 planets of like Fallout 3 level density of quests and that kind of stuff. It's going to be 1,000 planets that are like 99% nonsense, like No Man's Sky, where every planet is different, but they all kind of feel the same. And then like 1% of that experience is going to be the typical Bethesda experience. And that's where I'm going to be spending most of my time in this game. So those 1,000 planets are going to end up meaning next to nothing to me. I do not care about this scrapping and crafting and settlement building loop that Bethesda wants in all of their games now. I just don't care about it. Even if this is a better version, even if you can build ships, it's not why I come to their games. And I'm the old man screaming at clouds now, because that is clearly what Bethesda wants from their games, but it's not what I want from their games. And so there's a fundamental disconnect here.
Well, and I think that's too, because then they're not historically they were great at doing what you want from them,
right?
You know, that's why I don't know. That's what we expect, and that's what we all want. And this is just, I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it will hit these highs again that we had back in the day, but I don't know. It just feels like it's missing something. Like you said it. I mean, maybe it meets our expectations, but it just falls a little flat, and there's nothing to me to get. There's nothing to get that excited about.
One thing that is interesting here in like the story section of this trailer is that we see dialogue with a number of NPCs that is in the traditional Bethesda style. It's not the Fallout 4 style of shot reverse shot where your player has a voice and you get to see their face, and it's got that cinematic camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it is like they have gone back a step and they're like, okay, we want the thing where they zoom up on the face and it's kind of awkward because the faces are very stiff and they're like staring right at you into your soul. But that also kind of suggests to me that this might go back to the old style of voiceless protagonist where you have more dialogue options. But we don't actually know yet. I think they would have said if the protagonist had a voice, or they would have indicated that. But yeah, to be determined. Mm. What about the typical Bethesda not enjoyer in the room, Alfredo? I don't want to say hater because I think you just don't like their games.
Yeah, they're just not my types of games. Three things. Okay, first, I really wish that they had shown what they're showing right now off more, or earlier on, which is like the character customizer. Because you were just in this super basic, I guess, astronaut suit, not really much character. This one that they're showing, just like the base character look, you just look really lame. You're just a really lame astronaut, basically. But it does seem like they have some, character options that you can be like the super cool space commander or whatever if you want. So that's cool. Number two, when I saw this part, this is the part that actually intrigued me, the settlement building, which is the part that Ben doesn't like. I thought the settlement building looked really cool. And when I saw this next part coming up, which is the ship building, I was like, oh, cool. I can just build another gummy ship. So, because honestly, it really doesn't look that different from the gummy ship creator. I kid you not. So that's what I was thinking there.
What a comparison.
And then three, I wasn't really expecting much out of this game. The closest, I guess, because honestly, this type of game strikes me as somebody who would, a Star Trek or a Star Wars lover, like that. This kind of game seems like is targeting those type of nerds. I'm not one of those nerds. I'm not that much of a nerd like you guys, but I'll probably hop in for it in a second, but I feel like it will be the stereotypical thing that always happens with me for Fallout, where I'll get into it, I'll try it for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. It's a Bethesda game, so I'm good. But yeah, I just thought it was a, No Man's Sky 2 with better graphics.
I hate to be negative because I liked a lot of what I saw, but it harkens me back to my feelings on Fallout 4, where I can't say Fallout 4 is a bad game. I spent a lot of hours playing Fallout 4, so I would never say it's a bad game. But I do think a game like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the biggest slap in the face to Fallout, because it revealed to me how bland the story of these Bethesda games are. Like, I like Skyrim. I couldn't tell you the story to Skyrim, like from front to back. It's not memorable to me. I never played Morrowind or Oblivion. Played Fallout 3. I like Fallout 3 a lot, but I can't tell you the story front to back. Same thing with Fallout 4. Witcher 3, I can tell you front to back that story. It's a great story. Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, I can tell you that story front to back. RPGs have changed, and I don't think that Bethesda have caught up from the story standpoint. to me, this looks like the story is going to be very bare bones, and the extra details are going to be buried in lore you collect along these planets. Which I think for this game to have a chance to succeed, it's going to need to be the biggest RPG of all time. That's the only chance to me. Like, if it can really nail what No Man's Sky was promising, if it can nail that from jump with the level of density these plants are going to have, that's the only way. Because that is compelling to me. Because No Man's Sky has done it now, but it took a long time to get there, and still they don't have the resources that Bethesda have to do that. If this is going to be the 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 that it has the potential to be, it has to be the biggest RPG of all time. I don't think it's going to be that, so I don't think it's going to live up to expectations. I do think it could be the best Bethesda game of all time by default, just because it's going to be on their newest engine. It's going to have better combat than the previous games. But besides,
it looks beautiful.
I think it looks really good. It running at 30 is a little concerning, but I assume if it's coming to PC, that's not going to be a problem. I am worried for what it's going to look like on console, though. So like I said, I think it needs to be the biggest RPG of all time in terms of scope and in terms of planet density. Like, it needs to be like, it cannot be just some bullshit planets like Ben was saying. It cannot be some bullshit planets with mostly nonsense. Everything has to be like super detailed and super substantial. Otherwise, comparing it to something like even like a Horizon Forbidden West, I think is foolhardy. Just for me. That's just me.
What's interesting as well is that it is supposed to be coming to cloud as well. So it sounds like they're confident enough in the technology that they can get something as massive as this on the cloud. So I don't think, hopefully by launch, we won't have performance issues, whereas on console, at least, it's not at least up to 60.
The history of Bethesda would
it's not going to be 60.
Oh, it's not?
60. No,
you don't think so?
there's no way this trailer is not playing at 60.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the trailer not being 60 concerned the hell out of me. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But
I thought it was
it is Bethesda.
This is okay. This is hosted by GameSpot. So let's see. Let me see if I can find a 60 FPS version of this at least.
I thought that we were making a cinematic choice to make it seem more epic, since it's like the space odyssey, or it's supposed to be, I guess. So
yeah, I don't know. I certainly would not bet on 60.
My question,
at least on console.
Now seeing the gameplay, how do you guys think it's going to review? I guess like just getting a little hint about what this game is going to be about.
Fallout 4 reviewed well. I have no doubt this is going to be getting 9s out of 10s, 8 out of 10s. Like, I have no doubt about that.
But you no longer think this is going to be an Elden Ring moment.
I don't think I ever thought that.
Okay, Cole, what about you?
I don't think so. I think it's going to get 7s, 8s.
No, 7s. Maybe some, but I can't see that because I don't even think Fallout 4 got 7s, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it yet. I'm just saying I'd like to see more because it's not. Even these towns, they look so boring and like not much going on. Look at the graphics, look pretty bad here. I feel like.
But let's be real. Like, I feel like this is the best the towns have looked in Bethesda games, though. Like,
yeah,
I can't say the towns have been sprightly. Like, they've always kind of been a little boring.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, oh man, I don't know. I'm not writing it off yet. And I'm not saying it's going to be terrible yet. I want to wait and see. That the release date said 2023. I mean, I just know this thing's going to be pushed till fall 2023. I do not see
it's supposed to be the next 12 months. So
is that what they said?
They did say that, but I mean, anything's subject to change. Mm-hmm. I do think that I feel like there is an extra pressure for this not to be a buggy mess. I feel like Xbox understands to a certain extent, like releasing this day one on Game Pass as a buggy mess is probably not the best thing in the world. Like, it would really not surprise me if Phil Spencer maybe played some of this game and was like, can we get this in better shape? How long will it take to get this in better shape? And maybe that's why the delay happened. Because I just don't see Phil Spencer being okay with them releasing this game in Skyrim PS3 shape. I just don't think he would be okay with that. Yeah. You know, it's one thing when Bethesda's publishing this game by themselves and releasing it to all the consoles and PC. It's an entirely different thing when it's an Xbox exclusive.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully for you guys' sake, you know, it turns into what you want it to be by the time it comes out, at least.
That might be your favorite game of all time, Alfredo.
Sure.
Well, that was that. That's pretty much all she wrote for this Not-E3 E3.
What do you guys
think?
I have a question. Yeah, fundamentally, I think it kind of goes with what you were saying.
Sure.
Do we miss E3?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was talking mad shit about E3 last time we talked, and I gotta say, after watching the games, the Summer Games Fest showcase, I felt stupid. I was like, this cannot replace E3. It just can't.
I think it's too late, though, is the problem.
I honestly don't. I feel like it was so bad. At least Jeff Keighley's thing.
I think it was
it was bad. I think it was so bad that I feel like E3 got a little sliver of light. It was that bad.
Here's the thing. I didn't think it was that bad because I love indies and not all, AAA games. But that's why a lot of people come to E3, for those AAA reveals. And to be honest, even through not even just Summer Games Fest, but through everything, I feel like we didn't get a wow, like this game I have to get, or I'm looking forward to this game throughout any of the conferences that we did. I got a lot of, oh, this looks cool, but I'm also somebody who likes smaller games like that. So
I think there's a lot to take. I think ESA can take a lot away from this for sure. Like what you're saying with really focusing a lot on smaller games. I think on some level, this has turned into the Game Awards. And a lot of the criticisms that I have for the Game Awards apply to the Summer Games Fest in terms of how corporate it felt. Like watching that Devolver Digital showcase really did highlight it for me because it was almost like it was exactly criticizing that entire showcase. I think the ESA, if they're really going to do E3 2023, there's a pros you can use from the Summer Games Fest and a lot of cons you can use from it. I think there's a path for E3 to come back.
I think the problem is that everyone's already split up right now. Yep. So like everyone's saving their best game for their showcase. So Square Enix is gonna they gave Final Fantasy 16 to State of Play, but they're not gonna give Final Fantasy 7 Remake as well. Like they're gonna hold some things for their conference next month. And I feel like every single publisher who is doing a showcase, like Xbox, like Devolver Digital, like everyone's holding their games for their showcase so that they don't have a lame showcase. But now it's the point where we're not gonna get a banger one show. It's gonna be like, oh, there's one good game here and then one good game in like another 2-hour conference. Everything's like so segmented to the part where the centralization is the problem. The fact that there is not that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Alfredo. I mean, think about who was not present this weekend. Nintendo, PlayStation, Take-Two, EA, Ubisoft, and
forgot about them.
Square Enix mostly. I mean, you could count the State of Play a little bit. I don't really, like I said, PlayStation earlier, I don't really count the State of Play. If that had been an E3 conference for PlayStation, it would have been one of their worst conferences ever. It was a great State of Play, but but it was state of play expectations.
For
right?
sure. Absolutely.
So Sony did not bring out their big guns for this. And I think we're going to expect to see them bring out their big guns in separate state of plays or showcases. Yep. They're going to do one for God of War where they do 30 minutes of gameplay of God of War, like they did for Horizon Forbidden West. And then they're going to do some of that for, maybe they'll do one for the Last of Us remake ahead of the Last of Us remake's release. So yeah, I mean, like this weekend is like a shell of its former self in terms of what E3 was. It's like the only thing that's really left is Xbox, the big player that's still hanging on to this, and they were still hanging on to E3 as well. And
I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid. I mean, like it was a solid. It would have been a solid E3 press conference. I don't think
I'd give it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't think it would have blown anyone out of the water. But this is pretty much exactly what I would have expected from the era of, wow, that was a pretty good Xbox conference. Mm-hmm. And then we wait for the evening, and we're like, holy shit, that was an incredible Sony conference.
I missed that.
And I like, to Alfredo's point, I don't see that coming back. Even when E3 comes back, I don't.
Well, no. I'm not saying we're gonna get E3 back in the same way. I don't think that's ever coming back. But I do think in a competition between Summer Games Fest and maybe E3 rebranding, I think there's a shot. Last week, if you had told me that, I would say no. There's no way. I do think if E3 is smart about how they do it, kind of like how Jeff Keighley was in a way, getting specific games from specific publishers, from specific studios. I think E3 can do that. I think they can. I feel like if Jeff Keighley can do it, there's no reason why I would say the ESA can't do that at the very least. Getting PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox under the E3 umbrella again, yeah, that's impossible. But I think them getting, like, let's say, a Last of Us remake announcement, I think it's possible.
Last thing I'll say, the problem with that is that Summer Games Fest and E3 both announced that they will be doing conferences, both of them, next in June, both in person and digital. So they're going to be fighting for, content there. It'll be interesting.
It will be a war to the death that we will enjoy. But I want to thank everybody for listening or watching the Duke of Gaming podcast. Again, you can listen to us on your favorite podcast service and watch us live on Twitch and watch us later on YouTube. Leave a like, a review, a comment, anything to help support the show. You can even email us at therealdukesofgaming@gmail.com. Have your question read live on air. We'll be coming at you next week with some more hot takes. This is a long episode, so thank you for sticking around. And with all that being said, I bid thee